Chapter 1541. Ching Pin, how's the situation here? How was your day? When Ching Pin was lying on the bed in a daze, a familiar voice suddenly sounded beside him. Gohan. Ching Pin immediately jumped up from the bed excitedly, only to find that a monster with a tiger's head and a snake's tail had appeared in his room. Gohan, how did you become like this? Seeing Gohan's new appearance, Ching Pin said with some surprise, if I didn't become like this, how could I approach here quietly? Gohan hit Ching Pin's little head, then smiled and said, tell me, what happened here during the day I was away? It was lively when you were away. Ching Pin pouted and said with a smile, first, the two junior sisters had a big fight. They seemed to blame each other for not doing their best. Then, they scolded all the other monsters. In addition, all the humans in the alternate dimension seem to have been gathered by them. I haven't seen them for several hours. They are gathering humans? What do these monsters want? Don't tell me they want to take revenge on these human aborigines, Gohan said with some worry. If this was the case, then Gohan was in some trouble again. Gohan, should we save them? Ching Pin asked with some excitement and curiosity. Forget it. Gohan pondered for a long time, and finally shook his head and said, if they die, they die. This is their fate. Why? With your strength, Gohan, you can obviously save them. Ching Pin asked puzzledly. Because I have a more important task to do. Gohan sighed, then touched Ching Pin's little head, and finally said, Ching Pin, if Gohan wanted to kill your old master, what would you do? What old master? Ching Pin looked at Gohan innocently and said, Ching Pin has only one master since the beginning. Old master is the master of that bad woman, but he has never been the master of Ching Pin. Ching Pin has only one master, Gohan. Good treasure. Gohan excitedly held Ching Pin in his arms. If it weren't for the fact that his head was inconvenient, Gohan would definitely give Ching Pin a good kiss. Good treasure. I've already calculated that Sect Leader Tontian will definitely return to this alternate space in 1 or 2 months at the earliest. The moment he returns will be the moment of his death. I, your master, will do everything in my power to kill this culprit here and completely end the miserable suffering of our human race for thousands of years. Gohan said as he clenched his fists. Lord Chingping, it's time. You can come out and meet everyone. Not long after, Goddess Incongruence walked into Ching Pin's room, and a strange expression immediately appeared on her face. Because Ching Pin was not the only one in Ching Pin's room at this time, but there was also a little monster here. This little monster was extremely weak at first glance. It was almost the weakest monster in the entire alternate space. Nobody knew which monster this newborn was, but it actually appeared in Ching Pin's room. This little monster was currently tossing the esteemed Lord Ching Ping into the air like a rag doll, and then catching it in her hands. Ching Ping was even more excited as she shouted, raise it up high, throw it up high, and the like. Which brat is so daring to disturb Lord Ching Ping's rest? Who gave you the courage to appear here? Get out of here, and immediately go to the punishment hall to receive 30 strikes of the amethyst magic rod. Goddess Incongruence said coldly. The amethyst magic rod was a rod made of amethyst wood. At the same time, it was also imbued with the spells of the GS school. The pain caused by hitting the monster's body was 100 times stronger than that of an ordinary wooden rod. The power of the amethyst could also cause some damage to the soul. It was one of the punishments that everyone feared. After these 30 strikes, this little monster would probably lose half of its life. Lord Ching Pin, save me, please. Save me. This little monster was so frightened that he immediately knelt in front of Ching Ping and begged for mercy. Ching Ping immediately said, this has nothing to do with him. I want him to play with me, so he can stay by my side. Lord Ching Ping, nothing can be accomplished without rules. If you want to find someone to play with you, then I'll find you someone who looks more handsome. They're much stronger than this little monster. This needs to be taught a lesson. Goddess Incongruence said with flames in her eyes, as if she had to teach this little monster a lesson. No, I want him to play with me. I don't want anyone else. Ching Pin stomped her cute little feet and said to Goddess Incongruence with a pout, I want him. You won't even give me face? Why don't you drag me and him to beat the rod together. I don't dare, I don't dare. Goddess Incongruence shook her head when she heard Qingpin say that. Qingping was the sword of the sect leader of heaven. It represented the will of the sect leader of heaven. It was like an imperial sword. So how could Goddess Incongruence dare to beat Qingping? Moreover, it was almost certain that her master, the sect leader of heaven, had been resurrected, and the other sages were all dead. The sect leader of heaven was the only sage left in the world. The future ownership of the world would definitely belong to the sect leader of heaven. Under such circumstances, how could Goddess Incongruence dare to offend Qingping? In the end, she could only give in, and the little monster successfully escaped. Why did you come to me? Didn't we agree not to bother me unless there's something else? Qingping was relieved when she saw Goddess Incongruence backing down. At the same time, she asked in dissatisfaction. It's like this, Goddess Incongruence explained. The Incongruence Divine Mother explained, didn't we agree yesterday? I hope that Lady Qingping can go up to the rostrum today and tell us about the situation in the outside world. Tell us about the situation outside and which factions are in control. Jie School has been trapped in this small place for hundreds of thousands of years. We still know nothing about the outside world. Everyone is very curious. Oh, so troublesome. Qingping said tiredly when she heard that she was invited to talk about the outside world. However, she could only pinch her nose and agree since she had already agreed to it. Find a chance later. Drag that little monster out and kill it for me. Do you understand? Goddess Incongruence said to the few big monster guards at the door when she left Qingping's room. An hour later, the monsters gathered at the square again. Qingping also made her grand entrance amidst the cheers of many monsters. However, what confused Goddess Incongruence was that the little monster was still by Qingping's side, while the few monster guards were nowhere to be seen. Goddess Incongruence did not know what happened inside. Goddess Incongruence did not have the time to investigate this matter, because the report about the outside world had already begun. To be honest, Qingping was not an excellent storyteller. Or rather, she was not even worthy of being a qualified storyteller. Be it the words she said or the story she told, they were somewhat confusing. At the same time, there were many childish sounds in her words, making it difficult for the many demons to listen to her. Even so, the monsters finally understood the situation of the outside world. They knew that the outside world was in complete chaos. Humans, Yuan Ko, and Yuan Ko were killing each other endlessly. The humans had 8 base cities, while the monsters had many powerful forces. The war between the two had lasted for 1,000 years. However, according to Qingping's narration, she was no longer a sword maiden with a master. Instead, she was a sword maiden that had awakened on her own without any master. She wandered around the outside world for a few years and finally found this place. All the monsters who heard this story were dumbfounded. They never expected that such a huge change would happen in the past 1,000 years. Those guys from the 2D world had actually appeared in the main world. This was something that they had never heard of before, which made the monsters even more incredulous. According to Qingping, wouldn't there be people who looked exactly like her in the outside world? After all, they also existed in the 2D world. Lady Qingping, is there Yuan Ko outside who impersonated me and senior sister? Divine Mother Incongruence asked with a hint of seriousness after figuring out the situation. I don't know. Qingping shook her head. But the two of you are definitely not among the Yuan Ko that I've seen. If there really is one, that'll be interesting. Should I kill that impersonator with my own hands? Divine Mother Incongruence looked at her hands blankly and said, Also, can I defeat my other self? Of course, these impersonators should be killed. There can only be one of me in the world. Lady Yunxiao said coldly. As for strength, if I'm weaker than an impersonator, I'd rather die in the hands of this impersonator. Hee hee. Divine Mother Incongruence laughed dryly. It was obvious that she did not agree with Lady Yunxiao's words. However, she could not refute it directly. So she asked, Lady Qingping, what's the level of the person with the highest combat power outside? Is there a sage-level combat power? This was a question that everyone was very concerned about. If there was no sage-level combat power outside, then their master could really do whatever he wanted. No, there are at most some guys who are similar to the two of you out there. There's definitely no one who can reach master's level, Qingping said with certainty. Her words made everyone heave a sigh of relief. It's great that there's no one. In that case, spring will come for us. Once master appears, it'll be time for everyone to rule the world. Lady Qingping, who's the number one expert out there? Is it a human or that Yuan Ko? Who's more powerful? Some monsters below the stage asked excitedly. Chapter 1542. The number one expert should be a human called Gahan. Qingping pretended that she did not know him and said to the crowd, the number one expert should be a human called Gahan. What? The number one expert outside is a human. Hearing this answer, all the monsters expressed their astonishment. They took it for granted that since Yuan Ko was a two-dimensional creature, it was impossible for a human to be the number one expert no matter what. According to Qingping, anyone other than the sages could appear in Yuan Ko, which meant that the super freaks in the untainted land, such as Emperor Jun, Tai, Fuxi, Mingyi, and the 12 ancestors of sorcery. Any one of these peerless masters could easily defeat the whole world. How could a human be the number one master? Lady Qingping, are you kidding us? How could this human be the number one expert? Monsters were all straightforward, so one of them jumped out and asked immediately. That's right, the number one expert is a human called Guhan. As Qingping spoke, she raised both her hands to show that she was certain of her words. What did he do? Did Lady Qingping say that he was the number one expert just because he defeated a few lousy guys? Or did all the real experts die? A few monsters made a ruckus, causing all the monsters to burst into laughter. The scene suddenly became very cheerful. I don't know which Yuan Ko he killed before, but I know that he killed some Yuan Ko recently. Qingping looked at the laughter and said with dissatisfaction, who did he kill? He killed 12 Zuwu. Oh, so it's trash like the 12 ancestral witches. Before the demons could finish their sentence, the joyous scene froze. Everyone looked at each other in disbelief and focused their attention on Qingping's face. Even the silent goddess incongruence and Lady Yun Xiao had the same expression. Lady Qingping, you're not joking, right? Can you say it again? Who did Gahan kill? After a long silence, a monster swallowed and asked. The 12 Grand Wizards. Qingping repeated the name again. This time, the monsters did not say anything. They all knew who 12 Zuwu was. After all, they had stayed in this boring world for so long, and the only stories that could kill time were the stories from the primitive times. In the stories from the primitive times, there were always two main characters. One was the monster clan, and the other was the Wu people. No matter what the story was, 12 Zhu Wu was a powerful opponent. As the bloodline of Pangu, they had the power to stir up the world. They could kill a Qilin with a stomp and blow down a phoenix with a breath. They could destroy the heavenly court of the monster clan that had thousands of monsters at its peak and make them flee in all directions. When these 12 fellows gathered together, even saints would have to avoid them. Yet such terrifying fellows actually died in the hands of a human. This sounded a little too ridiculous. If that was really the case, how powerful was this human? The level of a sage? At the thought of this, the monsters started to get restless again. The monsters, who had thought that the whole world was just around the corner, suddenly felt that the future would not be so smooth. Gahan was likely to become their biggest opponent. They might die in the hands of Gahan in the future battles. These monsters had stayed in this alternate space for hundreds of thousands of years. During these hundreds of thousands of years, they did not have any opponents. Therefore, their bloodthirst and combat ability from the primitive times had long been erased. After hearing that there was such a terrifying opponent, many monsters started to want to retreat. Everyone calm down. Perhaps you didn't understand Lady Qingping's words clearly. Lady Qingping didn't say that the human defeated the 12 ancestral sorcerers, but only one of the 12 ancestral sorcerers. Everyone, don't panic. It's not impossible for Senior Sister and I to defeat an ancestral sorcerer. The incongruence Divine Mother immediately jumped up and said when she saw the emotions of her subordinates fluctuating, "That's right. This Gahan definitely didn't kill 12 Zhu Wus. He only killed one of the 12 Zhu Wus." Everyone immediately felt that Divine Mother Wudong's explanation made sense. They all breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. However, in the next second, those smiles disappeared again. It's not just one, it's 12. 12 Zhu Wus died together. I'm not wrong. I also saw them use the 12 Divine Fiend formation to gather the Pangu real body, but they were also killed by Gahan. I saw it with my own eyes. At that time, I was hiding on a nearby mountain, so I can't be wrong. I'm not wrong. Qingping waved her little fist to prove that her mathematical logic was very correct. However, this sentence made the scene fall into silence for the third time. What a joke. Even the 12 Zhu Wus that had gathered the Pangu real body were defeated. Could this Gahan have already reached the level of a sage? The monsters thought in panic. They had not even seen Gahan's face, but they were already extremely afraid of Gahan. Why are you guys panicking? Those 12 Zhu Wus aren't the real 12 Zhu Wus. They're just imposters from another dimension. Their abilities can't reach the level of the real 12 Zhu Wus. It's probably 10% or 20% at most. That Gahan can't possibly become a sage. What are you guys panicking for? Divine Mother Wudong saw that the situation was getting out of control, so she immediately jumped up and said. What she said sounded quite reasonable. That's right. Those aren't the real 12 Zhu Wus. They're just imposters from another dimension. Their abilities are definitely not as strong as the real 12 Zhu Wus. Thinking that, the scene finally calmed down a little. Divine Mother Wudong probably felt that she could not let Qingping continue, so she turned and said to Lady Yun Xiao, "Senior sister, I think that's it for today. Let's invite Madame Qingping back to rest." The incongruence saintess thought that Mistress Yun Xiao would reply to her immediately. However, when the incongruence saintess spoke, Mistress Yun Xiao didn't respond at all. Instead, she lowered her head and immersed herself in her own world. Nobody knew what she was thinking. Senior sister, senior sister. Divine Mother Wudong shouted a few times before Lady Yun Xiao woke up from her own world. However, when Lady Yun Xiao woke up, the incongruence Divine Mother clearly saw some fear in Lady Yun Xiao's eyes. What's wrong, senior sister? Senior sister, did you remember something? Divine Mother Wudong realized that something was wrong and immediately asked. Junior sister, do you remember something like this that happened back then? Lady Yun Xiao hesitated for a while and then asked Divine Mother Wudong. What happened? That was before Goddess Niwa became a saint. Master took in his last disciple, and this disciple even defeated Senior Brother Duo Bao. Do you remember this, junior sister? Lady Yun Xiao's body trembled slightly when she asked this question. That was before Goddess Niwa became a saint. That's impossible. Hearing Lady Yun Xiao's words, Divine Mother Wudong was shocked at first. Then, she said with certainty, although Senior Brother Duo Bao betrayed Master later on, he's definitely the strongest among the 8 of us. Even if you still have the primordial chaos golden chalice, you're not Senior Brother Duo Bao's match. Don't forget that the 3 of you sparred with Senior Brother Duo Bao and were all defeated by Senior Brother Duo Bao. Even the 3 of you are not Senior Brother Duo Bao's match. Among the 8 of us, who else can defeat Senior Brother Duo Bao? Tell me, among the 8 of us, who has the ability to defeat Senior Brother Duo Bao? You don't think that your brother, Zhao Gongming, has that ability, do you? Divine Mother Wudong was very proud when she said that. There was even some nostalgia between her brows. Looks like our incongruence Divine Mother still has some indescribable feelings for her Senior Brother Duo Bao. What if the person who defeated Senior Brother Duo Bao isn't one of the 8 of us? Lady Yin Xiao said after hesitating for a while. Are you kidding me? Everyone in the world knows that Master only has the 8 of us as his disciples. How can there be a 9th person? Isn't your consciousness messed up? Divine Mother Wudong said unhappily. No, my consciousness is right, and my memory is right too. After talking to you for so long, my memory is gradually becoming clearer. Lady Yun Zhao's eyes suddenly became clear. I remember now. You weren't there at that time. You were sent by Master to monitor Great Witch Ho Yi. At that time, the three of us, Brother Zhao Gongming and Senior Brother Duo Bao, were all in by Yu Palace. Brother Zhao Gongming suddenly brought a guy in. Oh yeah, he even called himself a human then. At that time, Goddess Niwa had yet to create humans. So how could there be humans in this world? After that, I don't remember what he said to Master. Master told him to fight with Senior Brother Duo Bao. If he could defeat Senior Brother Duo Bao, Master would take him in as the 9th disciple. In the end, he really defeated Senior Brother Duo Bao and even put his sword on Senior Brother Duo Bao's neck. The three of us were playing in the hall at that time. We don't remember much about what happened at the beginning, and we didn't care about it at all. It was only when the two of them started fighting that we realized something was wrong. There's such a thing. Why haven't I heard about it from the other brothers and sisters? Divine Mother Wudong felt that Lady Yun Xiao did not seem to be lying, so she said in disbelief. Actually, in congruence, Saint Mother was not the only one who was in disbelief. At that moment, the little demon who was standing beside the Qingping sword also began to tremble violently. In fact, the degree of shock was even greater than incongruence Saint Mother's. Wasn't that an illusion? Did that really happen? I really went back to the primeval era. Gohan lowered his head, but the shock in him was like an atomic bomb. That was because only if Gohan really went back to the primeval era would Lady Yun Xiao retain her memory of what happened millions of years ago. However, if that was the case, many of Gohan's guesses and plans regarding history, himself, Sword Lady, Tong Tian, and the future would have to be changed. Chapter 1543. Immortal Trapping. What's going on with the 9 prefectures? Did I really go back to the prehistoric era? Gohan questioned the immortal trapping sword through his sword mark. I don't know, I really don't know anything. I can't tell if it was the real prehistoric era or a fake one. The immortal trapping sword's answer didn't seem to answer Gohan's question, but it meant that the immortal trapping sword also had doubts about the world of the 9 prefectures. If that was the case, he might have really returned to the prehistoric era. Senior Sister Cloudy Sky, why did you mention that guy who has been forgotten for millions of years? Even if Master really took in such a disciple, and this disciple is so powerful, why didn't he come out to help us during the innumerable immortal formation battle? I think he's either dead or betrayed the GS school. What else do you want him to do? Incongruence Divine Mother said unhappily, because the 9th junior brother's name is Gohan. Cloudy Sky took a deep breath and said, Gohan? It's exactly the same as the name of the first expert outside. Incongruence Divine Mother finally reacted. Could it be that the number 1 human expert outside was actually the GS school's 9th inner disciple? This sounded a little too inconceivable. Could it be a coincidence? There are so many humans, it's normal to have 1 or 2 with similar names. Senior Sister, aren't you thinking too much? Incongruence Divine Mother said with a frown. It's not that I'm thinking too much. I just remembered that that person seemed to have told Master that he wasn't from the prehistoric era, but that he came from the future. Yes, I remember that he said something like that. But at that time, I treated his words as a ridiculous lie. I didn't pay much attention to it and directly threw it out of my memory. If he didn't lie and was telling the truth, then the number 1 human expert is our 9th junior brother. Lady Qingping, when you were outside, did you ever see Gohan's appearance? Can you describe him to us? Cloudy Skies suddenly said to Qingping excitedly. Gohan, what should I do? Qingping was confused and asked Gohan secretly through the sword mark. Give it to them. Gohan didn't think for long and said directly. How about this? Humans have invented many strange things, including something that can record what happened in the past. There's a picture of Gohan here. I'll show it to you. After receiving Gohan's order, Qingping took out a small projector from her scabbard and played the recording of Gohan. What a magical treasure. It actually has the function of a mystic light mirror. Looking at this thing that could project images, Incongruence Divine Mother was shocked. No, this isn't a dark light mirror. It's a tool made by humans using technology. It's not a magic treasure. Cloudy Sky shook her head. She was different from incongruence divine mother who was focused on cultivation. When she first entered this world, she found the refugees of the Yamato nation who hadn't lost their intelligence and learned a lot about the outside world. Therefore, she understood human technology and knew that this was not a magic treasure. The video recorded Gohan's trial in Yuzhong City. There were many close-ups of Gohan's face. When Cloudy Sky saw Gohan's face, she said with certainty, "It's him. It's him. There's no mistake. He's our 9th junior brother, the last disciple master accepted. There's no mistake." "Are you sure?" Incongruence divine mother scratched her messy hair. She didn't expect the outside world to be so strange. The strongest person who could defeat 12 Zuwu was her 9th junior brother. So he's really one of our patriarchs. That's great. The top human expert is the patriarch of GS School, our 9th grandmaster. He's also a freak who could defeat 12 Zuwu. As long as we join hands with 9th grandmaster, the whole world will belong to our GS School. When the monsters heard the conversation between Cloudy Sky and Incongruence Divine Mother, they shouted excitedly, as if they had unified the outside world. "Why are you so happy? Let's not talk about whether it's true or not. After some time, we'll know if 9th junior brother is willing to recognize us as his senior sisters. We still have to be cautious. Don't place your hopes on others. Just wait here for Master's return." Incongruence Divine Mother's words were like a bucket of cold water poured over everyone's heads, calming them down. Indeed, as Incongruence Divine Mother said, even if Gohan was really their 9th grandmaster, humans and monsters had always been at odds with each other. They wouldn't stand together so easily unless sect leader Tong Tian was resurrected. All right, the matters outside have come to an end for now. Next is the problem of how to deal with these human slaves. We've raised these humans for thousands of years, but these humans don't know how to be grateful at all. They actually colluded with outsiders to escape. This is simply unforgivable. Now that all 120,000 humans are under our control, let's discuss how to deal with these humans. The goddess of incongruence asked the crowd proudly. "Patriarch, I think we should just kill them all and fill our stomachs. At the same time, we can have a sumptuous meal so that we won't cause any more trouble in the future." A pig demon jumped out and said, "No, in my opinion, we should just whip them a few dozen times. If we kill all these humans, who will catch the longevity fruit for us?" Immediately, a demon jumped out and objected. "What's wrong with that? The meat of these humans is much more delicious than any longevity fruit. If we kill these humans and pickle them up, it will be enough for us to eat for a year or two." Another demon retorted. "What's wrong with that?" Another demon retorted. "You idiot, do you just want to be happy for a year or two? In a year or two, we won't have any longevity fruit to eat, and we won't have any humans to eat. Let's see what you're going to say. The old ancestor will have revived in a year or two. At that time, we can kill our way out. Didn't you hear what Grandmaster Qingpin said? There are still 200 to 300 million humans outside, enough for us to eat for the rest of our lives. What if the old ancestor doesn't come back? Without humans, do you want me to eat you?" The demons were roughly divided into 2 groups. One group felt that they should kill all of the humans, while the other group felt that killing half of them would be enough. They still had to leave some humans behind to use as seeds. The 2 groups of demons were arguing so hard that they almost started fighting. These beasts, the old ancestor is right. Those who are not of my race must have different intentions. They should all be killed. Hearing the discussions of the demons, Gohan said angrily in his heart, these demons were actually discussing how to swallow humans alive and make them into delicacies. What was the difference between this kind of demon and Yuan Ko? These demons had to be killed. Otherwise, if they were to be released outside, they would be the same as Yuan Ko, a great disaster. Although the 2 groups of demons were arguing endlessly, with the suppression of the goddess of incongruence and the mistress of Yin Shao, they gradually found a common ground. In the end, these demons unanimously decided to kill all the humans above the age of 6, cook and eat the delicate ones, and make the older ones into bacon, which could be used slowly in the future. As for those under the age of 6, they could continue to be raised like this. When they grew up, they would become the slaves of the demons who picked the longevity fruit. This sounded like the best of both worlds. Not only could they kill all the new human slaves that had already been born, but they wouldn't completely cut off the source of human slaves in the future. In any case, the humans who survived were still young. With a little brainwashing, they would still be obedient slaves in the future. Very good. Since everyone has come up with a proper plan, then it's decided. At the same time, she ordered the demons to filter out the captured human slaves. Those under the age of 6 were locked up in another place, while those above the age of 6 were all gathered on a large piece of flat land outside the city. When the demons heard that they could eat human flesh, they were naturally overjoyed. They quickly followed the goddess of incongruence's orders, and in less than 20 minutes, they came back to report that they had finished following the goddess of incongruence's orders. All the humans had been divided into 2 groups according to their age. All right. The goddess of incongruence smiled slightly. At the same time, she clenched her right hand in the air and a pitch-black ball that looked like a black hole appeared in her hand. Soul-shaking and soul-scattering technique. Seeing the black ball in the incongruence divine mother's hand, Guhan's pupils dilated. It was not unreasonable to say that the GS sect was an evil sect. Most of the spells in the GS sect were sinister and vicious spells that specialized in attacking the human soul. The great art of soul-shaking and soul-dispersing was a very famous spell in the GS school. When it was used, it could completely shatter the soul of an opponent whose magic power was inferior to the user's into powder. In other words, it was the so-called soul-dispersing. This soul-shattering spell was actually quite useless. This was because the spell could only be effective when one's magic power was more than 10 times that of the opponent. Moreover, as the number of opponents within the spell's range increased, the magic power required would also increase. Therefore, this spell was not practical in a battle between experts. However, it was a most suitable spell to deal with a group of enemy soldiers, especially the 120,000 humans who were trapped together. These humans were all ordinary people and had no magic power to speak of. With the goddess of incongruence's magic power, as long as she casually threw it, the 120,000 humans would probably have their souls shattered and die on the spot. What was even more amazing was that this spell attacked the soul and did not actually harm the human body. Therefore, after their souls disappeared, these humans could still rely on their physical abilities to live for a period of time. In other words, they were in a vegetative state. Wasn't that the best ingredient for the demons? Not only could it ensure the freshness of the ingredient, but it would also not cause a lot of trouble due to the ingredient's resistance. It was no wonder that the goddess of incongruence would choose to use this spell to kill the remaining humans. Chapter 1544. Go! The black ball that contained enough power to shatter the souls of 100,000 people slowly drifted away from Divine Mother Wudong's hand and gradually accelerated. In the end, it charged towards the bustling and terrified crowd outside the city at the speed of a sports car. As soon as the black ball hit the ground, the 100,000 humans would all die. Sigh, what a sin. It was also at this moment that the demons suddenly heard a slight sigh. Then, a golden sword beam soared into the sky from beside them and struck the black sphere. The entire black sphere was immediately split into 2, and a huge amount of energy exploded in the air. Some of the unlucky demons near the explosion point were hit by the energy. 3 of the weakest monsters had their souls scattered on the spot, while the rest fainted on the spot. They bled from their 7 orifices. It was obvious that their souls were severely injured, but it wasn't to the extent where they were completely destroyed. Where did this saint come from? How dare he ruin the Jie clan's business? Is he tired of living? Saint Mother Wudong and Lady Yunzhao's expressions changed when they saw their black ball being destroyed. Although the soul-squandering technique was a spell that Saint Mother Wudong casually used, it had actually gathered around 30% of Saint Mother Wudong's power. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to kill 100,000 humans at the same time. However, the person destroyed Saint Mother Wudong's black ball with a single sword chi. Even if the sword chi was the person's full power, The person's power was around 30% of Saint Mother Wudong's. That was enough to threaten Saint Mother Wudong. Where's the person who shot the sword chi? Saint Mother Wudong and Goddess Yin Zhao's first reaction was to find the owner of the sword energy. However, the sword energy was extremely fast. Saint Mother Wudong and Goddess Yin Zhao weren't prepared at all. They didn't even know where the sword energy came from in a hurry. Ancestor, I saw just now. The sword chi came from the stage. An eagle monster below the stage said. As an eagle, its vision was naturally extremely sharp. Only he could find the source of the sword chi when Saint Mother Wudong couldn't see it clearly. On the stage, Saint Mother Wudong did not doubt the eagle monster's words. It was obvious that the person was on the stage. The incongruence Divine Mother and Lady Yun Xiao could obviously be eliminated. The rest of the monsters on the stage were the incongruence Divine Mother's trusted subordinates. The incongruence Divine Mother definitely believed that these guys wouldn't betray her. Even if they did, they wouldn't have such power. In that case, it was obvious that the Qingping sword was the only one who could do that. Her opponent was a sword, and Tongtian sword at that, so of course it could release the powerful sword chi. Although there was a weak little monster beside the Qingping sword that incongruence Saint Mother had never seen before, she did not think that the little monster had the ability to destroy her spell. Hence, she ignored it out of habit. It's me. Seeing incongruence Divine Mother's suspicious gaze, Qingping readily nodded and admitted, it's me. I was the one who used that sword chi just now. Ancestor Qingping, why did you do that? Saint Mother Wudong heaved a sigh of relief when she heard Qingping admit it. She thought that an enemy had invaded. Since it was Qingping who stopped them, then they were no longer his enemies. However, the incongruence Saint Mother immediately became somewhat furious. What was this old ancestor Qingping thinking? Why did he do such a thing? When I was traveling outside, I made friends with many humans. Don't hurt these poor humans. Let's just set them free and let them go to their own cities. Qingping puffed up her chubby cheeks and said in a cute and matter-of-fact manner, Ancestor Qingping, how can you think like that? These humans are just our slaves. If they're loyal, they can keep their lives. However, since they chose to betray us, they have to die. Ancestor Qingping, mercy doesn't lead an army. If our Jie school wants to return to the world and recreate the glory of the primordial era, we have to use our supreme might to suppress the entire world. If we don't even kill these traitorous slaves, then who in the world will believe in our dignity? Saint Mother Wudong said domineeringly, but these humans are innocent. Many of them didn't want to escape. They don't even know what happened. You can't kill those innocent humans. Qingping retorted with her eyes wide open. In the primordial era, if one person made a mistake, the entire tribe would be annihilated. This is a matter of course. Otherwise, who would have the time to distinguish whether they want to rebel or not? And even if they don't want to rebel now, they will still want to rebel if they have the chance in the future. It's better to kill them all now and save yourself some trouble in the future. Saint Mother Wudong's words could be said to be a classic bandit's logic. No, I am the Qingping sword, the master sword, the grandmaster of all of you. Listen to my orders. You are not allowed to kill these humans. At most, you can return to your previous state and let these humans catch the longevity fruit for you. Qingping stood up and used her weak body to block in front of Saint Mother Wudong. Seeing Qingping's obstruction, Saint Mother Wudong hesitated. There was indeed the Grandmaster of Heaven standing behind Qingping, and since Qingping had said that, if she were to make a move, wouldn't that be Junior Sister Wudong? Behind her, Lady Yun Xiao suddenly said in a deep voice, Junior Sister Wudong, don't you think it's strange? Why is our Jie School's Grandmaster Qingping speaking up for humans? Didn't she only move around outside for a few years? Why does she care so much about humans, to the point that she doesn't even hesitate to fight against us, her former disciples? That's right. Why? Goddess Wudong was stunned when she heard this, and asked, Junior Sister Wudong, have you forgotten? Just now, Grandmaster Qingping personally told us that the swords forged by humans, the swords used by us demons and immortals, and even the Khanate cardinal treasures and Xin Yuan, sort of the primordial era, have all become sword maidens in the hands of humans, fighting for humans. Then, could it be that our Grandmaster Qing Ping lied to the two of us? Is she no longer Master's sword Qing Ping, but a human sword maiden Qing Ping? You should know that in the primordial era, we've never seen Qing Ping's sword turn into this human form. Lady Yin Xiao said faintly. As soon as she said that, all the demons present felt like they were about to explode. That's right. Just now, Grandmaster Qing Ping clearly said that all swords have become sword maidens of humans. If that's the case, how did Grandmaster Qing Ping escape? How could she turn into a free human form and move around? There was only one explanation, and that was that Grandmaster Qing Ping had also become a sword maiden. Previously, the demons were immersed in the shocking news brought by Qing Ping and did not think so much about it. Now that they heard Lady Yun Zhao's words, they immediately felt that it made sense. Many of Grandmaster Qing Ping's actions looked extremely strange. However, if that was really the case, and the supreme sword of the Jie sect, Qing Ping's sword, had actually become a sword maiden of humans, wouldn't that be a slap to the face of the Jie sect? At the thought of that, the demons felt like their heads were about to explode. I'm not a sword maiden. You've misunderstood me. Seeing Lady Yun Xiao and Goddess Wudong's aggressive expressions, Qing Ping could not help but feel a little flustered, and he kept denying it. Grandmaster Qing Ping, can you turn back into your sword form? Let's take a good look at you. If you really have a fragment of our master's consciousness in your body, then we've wronged you. We're willing to apologize to our master personally. Lady Yun Xiao and Divine Mother Wudong said. No, I'm really not. I don't want you to check. You can't check me. Other than saying that, Qing Ping did not seem to know what else to say. All right then, it's fine if you don't want to check me. I'll attack again. This time, Lady Qing Ping, you can't stop me. Goddess Wudong scoffed. The black sphere from earlier appeared, and it was even bigger than before. Go! Under the gaze of all the demons, Divine Mother Incongruence tossed out the black ball in her hand once again. At the same time, she glared at poor Qing. If poor Qing dared to unleash any golden sword beam, Divine Mother Incongruence will be able to confirm Qing Ping's identity as a traitor. At the same time, she would control Qing Ping on the spot. As the black ball flew further and closer to the terrified human, Qing Ping did not resist at all. This made the incongruence Divine Mother suspect that she had guessed wrongly. Was Qing Ping not the human sword lady? At that moment, Goddess Wudong suddenly felt the power in her body go haywire. She knew that her great technique of soul shuddering and soul dispersing was destroyed for the second time. At that moment, the demons below the platform exclaimed, Golden Sword Chi! That golden sword Chi has appeared again. Impossible. I've been staring at her. She didn't use any sword Chi at all. Where did the golden sword Chi come from? Goddess Wudong immediately shouted and pointed at Qing Ping. Qing Ping, come back. Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao heard a sigh, and the Qing Ping sword in front of them instantly turned into a sword gleam and disappeared before their eyes. The two of them immediately looked in the direction where the sword gleam disappeared. In the end, they saw an unhappy little demon walking to their side silently. Who are you? Who exactly are you? It was only then that Divine Mother Incongruence came to her senses. All the problems actually stem from this inconspicuous little demon. Who exactly is this little demon? Why does it have the power to deal with 30% of my power? Senior Sister Wudong, Senior Sister Yin Xiao, I'm here to greet you. The little demon calmly bowed to the two senior sisters. At the same time, the demon's image started to degenerate rapidly. In the end, it turned into a handsome human. Gohan, ninth junior brother, Lady Yin Xiao and Goddess Wudong shouted at the same time. Chapter 1545. Be on guard, a demon shouted. All the demons instantly tensed up. Some demons took out their weapons, while others simply transformed into their original forms. The entire venue was immediately filled with an extremely tense atmosphere, as though a fight was about to break out at any moment. What are you doing? All of you calm down. This is my 9th junior brother and also your 9th martial granduncle. What are you all doing? All of you, take your things back. Lady Yun Zhao's gaze swept across all the monsters. The monsters hesitated for a while, then retracted their battle stances and returned to their original forms. So, senior sister Yun Xiao still recognizes me as your junior brother. I was too rude just now. Gahan smiled. He actually did not care about these monsters. Apart from Divine Mother Wudong and Goddess Yun Xiao, the rest of the demons combined were not enough to withstand the 10 swords of Guhan. Only Divine Mother Wudong and Goddess Yun Xiao could make Guhan have some fighting spirit. Don't call me senior sister. I don't care if you're our junior brother or not. Incongruence, Divine Mother spat. She kept her guard up against the solid cold. Can this prove it? Guhan waved his hand, and the Qingping sword floated quietly beside Guhan. At the same time, as Guhan's fingers moved, the Qingping sword reacted in all sorts of ways. Clearly, the Qingping sword was under Guhan's control. Senior sisters, if I'm not Master's disciple, why do you think I'm recognized by Lady Qingping's sword? Guhan squinted his eyes and said, This. Everyone hesitated. Yes, the Qingping sword was the most precious treasure of the GS school. Since this human could use the Qingping sword, he definitely had a deep relationship with the GS school. The Qingping sword could prove many things. There's no proof. Who knows if you use some despicable method to force Lady Qingping to recognize you as her master. The incongruence Divine Mother said in disbelief. This Qingping sword is Master's sword, and Master has never given it to anyone to use. Why do you have to gain Master's approval? Master definitely wouldn't give the Qingping sword to you. Senior sister Yun Xiao, do you remember that back when we fought senior brother Myriad Treasure in Green Touring Palace? Master gave junior brother the Qingping sword to use? It was also at that time that I formed an indissoluble bond with the Qingping sword dame. That's why I can coordinate with the Qingping sword dame and fight together. Guhan said indifferently. Really? Divine Mother Incongruence cast a confused look at Goddess Yun Xiao. Back then, Divine Mother Incongruence did not witness what happened in Aquamarine Palace with her own eyes. Only Goddess Yun Xiao was there. Yes, that's true. Lady Yun Xiao nodded, confirming Guhan's words. Are you really our little junior brother? Incongruence, Divine Mother started to believe Guhan's identity. I guarantee it. Guhan smiled. Then tell me, did you live from the primeval era until now, or did you travel through time and space to become Master's disciple? Divine Mother Incongruence asked curiously. I'm only 45 years old this year. Senior sister, what do you think is the possibility? Guhan smiled. All right, if that's the case, I shall help Master clean up this sect today. Divine Mother Incongruence shouted. She gathered mana in her hands, and all sorts of spells were produced instantly. She was ready to smash at Guhan's head. Junior sister, what are you doing? Seeing that the situation was bad, Goddess Yun Xiao grabbed Divine Mother Incongruence's hands and shouted, I'm going to help Master kill this ungrateful B****starred. Divine Mother Incongruence said angrily, What are you talking about? How is 9th junior brother ungrateful? Goddess Yun Xiao said confusedly, Since this guy returned to the past from the present, he naturally knows the history of the GS sect very well. He knows that the GS sect was destroyed by the primeval Lord of Heaven, Taishang Laojun, Saint Jia-yin, and Daoist Jundi. Yet, he didn't tell Master about these things. In the end, tens of thousands of our disciples and grand disciples all died, and those pitiful junior brothers even worked hard for others. The huge GS sect was also destroyed in an instant. If this guy told Master about these things, then why would we have to endure such pain and torture? The incongruence Divine Mother screamed. She pushed all the responsibility of suffering to Guhan. Junior sister, you're crazy. With the strength of those 4 saints, even if we are prepared, we will still die in their hands. The existence of our GS school is their biggest mistake. Even if there is no great God-confirmant war, they will definitely not let us go. Lady Yun Xiao pushed Divine Mother Wudong to the side and shouted, Also, Don't forget, with Master's personality, even if he knew all this, he wouldn't retreat at all. Even if he knew that it was a bottomless abyss in front of him, he would still walk in. Divine Mother incongruent sighed and put down her hands weakly. The mana that she accumulated earlier also disappeared without a trace. Let me correct you. Actually, because of the apocalypse, we humans have already lost all the history of the past. I only learned about the existence of the primeval era after I returned to the primeval era. After returning to the modern era, I desperately searched for all kinds of stories and information about the primeval era. Only then did I understand a little about the GS sect. However, it was too late. I've already returned to the modern era, so I can't tell Master about these things anymore. Gohan sighed and said, "Umph, you're stingy with your sweet words." Divine Mother incongruence snorted in disdain. However, she did not shout at Gohan anymore. Goddess Yin Xiao could finally start chatting with Gohan seriously. Junior brother Gohan, we just learned about the outside world from Ancestor Qingping. Is the truth like what she said? Goddess Yin Xiao asked curiously. That's the truth. Gohan nodded. Junior brother, are you the leader of hundreds of millions of humans in the outside world? The strongest human who even defeated 12 Zhu Wu, right? Goddess Yin Xiao asked again. That's right. Gohan nodded and admitted it without hesitation. He's lying. It's impossible for him to be so powerful. Divine Mother incongruent screamed again. Actually, I don't care if you guys believe me or not. Seeing that my senior sisters are still alive is the best news for me. I thought that the GS school had come to an end. I didn't expect the 2 senior sisters and their disciples to still be alive. That's great. As for the rest, it's up to my 2 senior sisters whether you believe me or not. In the future, if the GS sect needs my help, just say the word, and I'll be at your service. Seeing Divine Mother incongruence's reaction, Gohan did not seem to be bothered to explain anymore. He said straightforwardly, "Oomph, don't make it sound so nice. What do you mean by being at my service? If you really respect our 2 senior sisters, why did you interrupt my spell twice just now? Do you still respect me as your senior sister?" Divine Mother incongruence brought the topic back to what happened just now. Senior sister, please don't blame me. Although I, Gohan, am Master's disciple, I'm also the emperor of all humans. I lead billions of humans in the world, and all humans in the world are my people. I'm their father, and they're my children. If you can't even protect your own children, what kind of parent am I? Gohan said coldly, "Is this the reason why you fought with your senior sister? You have no respect for your elders." The incongruence goddess spat. They're just some useless human slaves. Don't forget that we're the ones who raise these humans. They're like pigs that you keep in a pigsty. Don't we, the masters, have a right to slaughter them? The human up there, if you're really our 9th martial granduncle, then be more generous. Why are you being stingy? That's right. If you really have hundreds of millions of people under you, then these 200,000 humans are nothing to you. Even if you send a few million humans in for a feast, that's only natural. We, the GS sect, are one. We're all close brothers. Isn't it more intimate than some lowly humans? The demons below the stage began to scream. Some of them even asked Gohan to send a few million humans for them to eat. Junior brother, did you hear what your disciples and grand disciples are saying? I don't need you to send a few million people in. Get out of my way and let me kill these domestic pigs. Then, I'll give you a piece of meat to taste. I promise you that once you taste human flesh, you'll fall in love with it just like us. Divine Mother incongruence laughed. It seems like there's nothing more to say between us. Gohan let out a long sigh. He had no intention of stepping aside. Then junior brother can only offend senior sisters. Senior sisters, kill junior brother first. Then go and kill junior brother's people. Do you think I don't dare to do it? Then let me teach you the supreme technique of the GS sect today. I'll let you know why I'm your senior sister. Divine Mother incongruence was enraged. The demonic power in her hand appeared again, and she fought with Gohan. I'm sorry. Gohan pulled out the Qingpin sword and began to deal with her attacks. Both of them were top-notch experts in the world. In the blink of an eye, countless spells and sword techniques were exchanged. As time passed, Incongruent's divine mother felt more and more terrified. This human's swordsmanship was truly unimaginably powerful. He did not use any magic, but he could use the Qingping sword to destroy all the spells that she had painstakingly gathered. Divine Mother Incongruence had never seen such a battle technique in her life. What was even more frightening was that this human was always in a passive state of emergency. In battle, he would often throw out a spell, and the opponent would directly use a sword to cut off the entire spell. This meant that Gu Han was only defending and had no intention of attacking. Otherwise, if the other party counterattacked, Divine Mother Incongruence really did not know how to deal with it. "Senior sister, help me!" Divine Mother Incongruence shouted at Lady Yun Xiao, who was beside her in fear. Chapter 1546. Sai, Goddess Yin Xiao, was helpless. Although she did not want to fight against Gahan, the Incongruence Divine Mother was already in danger. She was closer to this junior sister of hers after all, so how could she let her be in danger? She could only join the battle. With Goddess Yin Xiao's help, the Incongruence Divine Mother instantly became excited. Other than throwing out their own spells, they also worked together to perform some secret spells that could only be performed by working together. These secret spells were much more powerful than normal spells. The Incongruence Divine Mother felt that this human would definitely not be able to withstand the secret spells that the two of them used together. However, reality slapped her in the face. The Incongruence Divine Mother and Goddess Yun Zhao's collaboration did not change the situation of the battle. Gahan was still able to withstand the full attack of the two desolate-level Yuan Ko. He did not panic at all. This attack clearly had not reached Gahan's limit. Damn it, if my mountainly seal was still here, I would not allow this bastard to be so arrogant. Seeing that the two of them were still being suppressed, the Incongruence Divine Mother roared in anger. The mountainly seal was the Incongruence Divine Mother's treasure. It was a primordial spiritual treasure. It was said that it could instantly turn into a mountain that weighed millions of tons and crush any opponent into meat paste. It was the Incongruence Divine Mother's strongest treasure. Unfortunately, this treasure was destroyed in the Battle of 10,000 Deities Town. Otherwise, the Incongruence Divine Mother felt that her power could at least increase by 3 times. Why are you talking about this now? If I still had the primordial chaos golden chalice, everything would be even simpler. Goddess Yun Xiao rolled her eyes at the Incongruence Divine Mother. Her mountainly seal was a primordial spiritual treasure, but her primordial chaos golden chalice was a primordial ultimate treasure. It was a treasure of the same level as the Qingping sword. If she had the primordial chaos golden chalice, apart from the sages, no one in the world would be her match. She would not be trapped by this junior. No matter how much the Incongruence Divine Mother and Goddess Yin Xiao missed their past treasures, the reality was that even if they worked together, they would not be able to break through Gahan's defense. That was the most fatal point. Don't be so arrogant. Goddess Incongruence glared at Gahan with resentment. Then, she quickly shot a glance at one of her trusted demons. The demon immediately came to a realization and led a few other demons to sneak out of the square, heading straight for the humans who were trapped outside the city. The Incongruence Divine Mother's plan was simple. I might not be able to break through your defense, but I want to disgust you. Don't you want to protect those humans? I'll let the old man's subordinates kill all of them. At that time, you'll have wasted your efforts. It had to be said that Goddess Incongruence's plan was very vicious and difficult to deal with. After all, Gahan seemed to be completely occupied by Goddess Incongruence and Lady Cloudy Sky. He could no longer save the pitiful humans who were about to die in the hands of the monsters. How dare you? Guhan snorted coldly as he watched the monsters brandishing their terrifying weapons about to charge into the group of pitiful aboriginals. He didn't want to play with the two senior sisters any longer. He pushed the poverty sword forward with force, and at the same time, an endless amount of sword chi surged out. After becoming Jindi, Guhan's power had reached a terrifying level. When the sword aura burst out from his body, It was a powerful move that even Zhu Wu could not handle, let alone the two monsters who had lost their treasures. Therefore, the moment the sword aura burst out, Goddess Incongruence and Lady Cloudy Sky, who had been suppressing Gahan, were instantly sent flying by Gahan. Their bodies smashed through tens of buildings before they finally stopped. Before the few monsters could do anything to these pitiful humans, they realized that Guhan had unknowingly appeared in front of them. Ninth Martial Granduncle, please spare us. The monsters were shocked. They quickly threw away their weapons and knelt before Gahan, kowtowing and begging for mercy. On the other side, Goddess Incongruence, who climbed out of the collapsed house, looked extremely furious. She shouted that she wanted to kill Gahan to take revenge. That's enough. What Goddess Incongruence did not expect was that Lady Cloudy Sky, who had also climbed up, slapped Goddess Incongruence's face. The crisp sound could be heard from a few kilometers away. Junior sister, how dare you hit me? Goddess Incongruence was stunned and looked at Lady Cloudy Sky in disbelief. If I don't hit you, are you going to watch us from the GS school kill each other? Lady Cloudy Sky said angrily. Haven't you realized it yet? What Ancestor Chimping said is true. This ninth junior brother is definitely a powerhouse. I'm afraid he has already surpassed senior brother Duo Bao back then. He's the strongest person below the sage. We won't be his match, even if all of us work together. Do you want to bring us to our deaths? But he doesn't respect his elders. He actually dared to attack her senior sister. As her senior sister, if I don't teach him a lesson, how can I? Goddess Incongruence said unwillingly. If you want to teach him a lesson, you have to have the ability to defeat him. Otherwise, it'll be us from the GS school killing each other. We'll be a joke to others. Lady Cloudy Sky said angrily. Lady Yun Xiao said angrily. During the Great God Confirmant War, we were able to unite as one by befriending tens of thousands of disciples. Could it be that, at such a critical moment, they were going to kill each other and fight to the death? He's our ninth junior brother after all. As long as we have his help, we can totally leave this damn place and rebuild the world ruled by the GS school. Do you really want to push ninth junior brother to the enemy's side? But I can't accept it. Are we just going to be bullied like this? Goddess Incongruence said unwillingly. You idiot. No matter how powerful ninth junior brother is, can he be more powerful than Master? Now that Master's return is imminent, you can complain to Master if you have any grievances. At that time, I believe that Master will make a fair decision. There's no need for you to continue killing each other. At that time, Master won't forgive you. Moreover, didn't you notice that ninth junior brother has been holding back? Just based on the extremely cold sword chi that he released earlier, do you really think we can fight him with just the two of us if he really goes all out? He already considered our relationship and didn't kill us. Otherwise, the two of us would definitely be severely injured. Lady Cloudy Sky's last sentence probably worked. Goddess Incongruence finally stopped resisting and nodded obediently. She agreed with Lady Cloudy Sky's words. Junior brother, our two senior sisters were a little impulsive just now. We are all from the GS school, and we are good brothers and sisters. These are all your disciples and grand disciples. Why do we have to go to this step and kill each other? Everyone put away your weapons. Lady Cloudy Sky brought Goddess Incongruence back to Gahan and said with a smile, Senior sister, you can also tell that I've never wanted to fight my fellow disciples. However, since you're the ruler of humans, you must protect your people. These humans can't stay here anymore. I'm going to send them back to the human world. What do you think, senior sister? Gohan looked at the 200,000 humans behind him and said, the humans were in a daze. They had no idea that they had just gone through a life and death crisis. If Gahan didn't stop them, their souls would have been destroyed, and they would have become delicacies in the monster stomachs. That's easy. Since they're your people, and your people, they're also our people. Of course, we'll treat them well. Junior brother, don't worry. We'll take care of these humans in the future. Lady Cloudy Sky said gently. Senior sister, I'm afraid you heard it wrong. I'm going to bring all these humans out. I don't want them to stay here and continue to trouble you. Gohan said with a smile. Do? Ninth junior brother. Goddess Incongruence clenched her teeth and suppressed her anger. She tried her best to smile and said, "Ninth junior brother, you don't believe us?" Since senior sister said that she would treat them well, of course she would. Junior brother, you don't have to worry about that. The people of the Jia denomination are true to their words. We are not like the guys of the Chan denomination who are full of schemes and tricks to harm our fellow disciples. Ninth junior brother, feel bad leaving these humans here for senior sisters to take care of. There's no need to say anything else. I'll definitely send these humans away. Senior sisters, just tell me, are you going to let them go or not? Guhan said without any hesitation. Let them go. Of course. What else could Mistress Yin Xiao do? She could only nod in agreement. Although the monsters behind her were not happy to see the delicacy that was in their mouths fly away, they could only nod in agreement when they thought of the scene where the two ancestors were sent flying. Thank you, senior sister. Guhan nodded at Lady Cloudy Sky to express his gratitude. Then, he found the fattest woman among the 200,000 people. This woman had met Guhan once before. She was the lady boss of the Human Inn, who was also Amakusa Ichiro's contact. Guhan said a few words to the lady boss, then placed a chip in her hand. Finally, with a wave of sword chi, he sent the lady boss out of this alternate dimension through the secret passageway from before. In less than 10 minutes, many human swordsmen walked out of the secret passage. First, he vigilantly observed his surroundings and found that there were no monsters lying in ambush. At the same time, he also saw that Guhan was confronting all the monsters. Only then did he feel relieved and walked behind Guhan. Amakusa Ichiro took the lead and was the first to reach Guhan's back. Guhan gave Amakusa Ichiro a few more instructions. Amakusa Ichiro nodded and passed the dimensional bag to Guhan. Then, he immediately led his people to evacuate the 200,000 humans. With the efforts of these swordsmen, the 200,000 humans quickly ran towards the freedom and light that they had not seen in 1,000 years. Junior brother, are you satisfied now? Seeing the humans that she had raised painstakingly for 1,000 years all run away, the incongruent goddess said through gritted teeth, "Thank you for your kindness, senior sister." Junior brother apologizes to both of you. Guhan bowed to the two of them and waved his hand gently. The dimensional bag that Amakusa Ichiro had brought was instantly opened. A large number of baked sesame cakes, buckets of fragrant rice, and roasted pigs were sent out by Guhan from the dimensional bag and placed in front of everyone. These are all my apologies. I hope that everyone will kindly accept them, Guhan said with a slight smile. Chapter 1547. Perhaps only the demons themselves knew how hard it was for them to live in this alternate dimension. The most delicious thing in this alternate dimension was the longevity fruit that was made up of pure protein. The only source of meat was those pitiful humans. And this alternate dimension was a place that lacked oil and salt. There are no seasonings, and the only cooking methods were barbecue and boiling. What delicious food could there be? Therefore, when Guhan took out the dimensional bag full of food, all the demons went crazy and started a fight for the delicious food. Among all the food that Guhan brought, the one that was consumed the fastest was not the meat that Guhan had expected, but the green vegetables. If these demons wanted to eat meat, they could occasionally eat 1 or 2 humans. However, it was impossible for them to eat vegetables because it was impossible for any vegetables to grow in this alternate dimension that was filled with magma. These useless fellows were actually fooled by a mere leaf. Seeing that her subordinates were fighting for the food that Guhan had brought, and some of the demons were even fighting over a few plates of vegetables, the goddess of Wudong said angrily, "Senior sisters, please don't be angry anymore. Junior brother will apologize to senior sisters and let senior sisters taste these things." Guhan smiled and took out some golden food from another dimensional bag and sent it to Lady Yun Xiao and the goddess of Wudong. "What is this? Did you put poison in it?" The goddess of Wudong immediately said warily, "Senior sister, you must be joking. Is there any poison in this world that can be placed in senior sister's poison? This is just an ordinary cake. It's all a little something from junior brother, Gohan said with a bitter smile. The goddess of Wudong did not believe Gohan's words. Instead, she looked at the cake in Gohan's hand even more warily. Let me try one. What the goddess of Wudong did not expect was that a fragrant wind blew past her, and the piece of cake in Gohan's hand disappeared without a trace. Senior Sister Yin Xiao, what are you doing? What if this bastard poisoned it? Seeing Lady Yin Xiao eat the cake in one bite, the incongruous Divine Mother said anxiously, I believe that my 9th junior brother will not harm me, his senior sister. Yin Xiao chewed the cake in his mouth and revealed an intoxicated expression. He smiled and said, what's more, with 9th junior brother's ability, if he wanted to harm us, he could have just done it. Why would he waste so much effort? This cake is really delicious. Can I have another one? Lady Yin Xiao quickly swallowed the entire cake and looked at the rest of the cake in Gohan's hand with envy. Of course, these cakes are specially prepared for you two senior sisters, Gohan said with a smile. Good junior brother, really good junior brother. Yin Xiao praised Gohan and quickly snatched the remaining cakes from Gohan's hands. F***CK. Senior sister, don't eat it all by yourself. Let junior sister have a taste of what it tastes like. The incongruous Divine Mother had actually smelled the fragrance of the cake long ago. When she saw that almost all the cakes in Gohan's hands were eaten by Lady Yin Xiao, she immediately snatched the last cake and stuffed it into her mouth. She bit it hard and flew into the sky. Oh my God, there's actually such delicious food in this world. The incongruous Divine Mother recalled the delicious food in her mouth and was so excited that tears almost flowed out. Not to mention, after falling into this alternate dimension, even during the primordial era when the Jie school was at its peak, she had never eaten such delicious food. Junior brother, do you have more? And this egg cake? The incongruous Divine Mother asked anxiously. Yes, but not much. These are prepared for me. There's not much left, even in the human world. Gohan smiled bitterly. Then he took out all the remaining cakes in his dimensional pocket and gave them all to the two senior sisters. Gohan was lying through his teeth. This was not a precious cake at all. It was an egg cake that Gohan bought from the most ordinary cake shop. Before the apocalypse, it would cost 1 yuan for 2 pieces and 5 yuan per kilogram. Of course, the incongruous Divine Mother and the incongruous Divine Mother did not know that. They felt that it was the most precious thing in the world when they tasted the shocking delicacy in their mouths. Then, one of the two senior sisters said that Yun Xiao had eaten a few more pieces of cake, so she should have more of it now. The other one said that this was a different group, a yard was a yard, and this time it should be divided equally. These two senior sisters who had worked together for thousands of years almost fought for the sake of Gohan's cake. Yes, thousands of years of sisterhood could not even compare to a piece of cake. All right, this was actually just an interesting joke. With the relationship between the incongruous Divine Mother and the incongruous Divine Mother and the incongruous Divine Mother, they would definitely not fight over a small piece of cake. However, it was undeniable that the deliciousness of the cake had completely attracted the cravings of these two ancient demons. After eating 7 to 8 pieces, they realized that there was not much left in their hands. They kept it carefully and planned to eat a piece when they were hungry in the future. Senior sisters, you don't have to be stingy. It's just a small amount of cake. I don't have any more. However, if I can't satisfy both of you, it'll be my fault. Gohan smiled and said, Junior brother has already given the order to my subordinates. At the latest the day after tomorrow, there will be more cakes being sent in. I guarantee that both senior sisters will be satisfied. Good junior brother. Senior sister thanks you so much. I appreciate your kindness. Incongruous Divine Mother spoke first. Good. Junior brother. The incongruous Divine Mother struggled for a long time before she finally said it. Fellow sect members, humans of my people, please give me face and don't harm humans in the future. However, I promise everyone that in the future, food like today's will be sent here once every month. everyone will be able to eat the delicacies that have been meticulously cooked by us humans. What do you guys think? Guhan suddenly flew into the sky and spoke to all the demons with a voice that echoed throughout the alternate dimension. Great! This is great! This is great! That's right. If we can eat such delicious food every day, who would be willing to eat that sour human flesh? Long live the ninth Grandmaster! Ninth Grandmaster is great! When the demons heard Guhan's words, their resentment towards Guhan for stopping them from eating human flesh disappeared instantly. They began to praise Guhan loudly. This ninth junior brother really knows how to win people's hearts. The incongruence Divine Mother said sourly when she saw how Guhan managed to win the favor of almost all the monsters with just some food. If you're not happy, why don't we work together to chase ninth junior brother out? Incongruence Divine Mother looked at the incongruence Divine Mother and said naughtily, "Forget it then. I haven't had enough cake yet." The incongruence Divine Mother immediately gave in. After the chaos in the day, Guhan successfully resolved the grudge between him and all the disciples of the GS sect through food diplomacy. At the same time, he became the VIP of the GS sect. That night, everyone held a feast for the guests on the square and held a joyous bonfire party. Guhan even took the initiative to apologize to the incongruence Divine Mother and incongruence Divine Mother and incongruence Divine Mother. He even said a lot of witty words. Only then did the incongruence Divine Mother smile and officially admit that Guhan was their ninth junior brother and a member of the GS sect. With the approval of the incongruence Divine Mother and incongruence Divine Mother, Guhan officially joined the GS sect. The atmosphere of the party reached its climax. Guhan happily played some games passed down from the primordial era with all the demons and sang the songs of the primordial era. In the end, they even got drunk together. Of course, it was not only because of the food. If Guhan did not suppress everyone with his strength and make all the demons speechless, the food diplomacy would not have been as smooth as it was today. In the following time, Guhan stayed in the alternate space with the excuse that he wanted to catch up with his senior sisters and understand the situation of the primordial era. Apart from learning the knowledge of the primordial era and the spells of the GS sect every day, he would drink and chat with the demons. Guhan's status in the alternate space increased rapidly. Very soon, he was on the same level as the incongruence Divine Mother and incongruence Divine Mother and incongruence Divine Mother and incongruence Divine Mother were not unhappy about this. After all, Guhan's strength was there, and he was the real ninth junior brother. It was only natural that they were on the same level. Junior brother Guhan, what is your ambition? After a day of drinking, incongruence Divine Mother suddenly asked Guhan, "Senior sister, why are you suddenly asking me this?" Hearing incongruence Divine Mother's question, Guhan asked curiously, "Nothing. I just feel a little emotional when I think about how we waste our time here every day." Incongruence Divine Mother sighed. This answer was normal, but it gave off a strange feeling. "All right, since senior sister asked, I'll answer truthfully." Guhan smiled and downed the wine in his cup in one gulp. "My dream is very simple. I want to end the chaos in the outside world and eliminate all the Yuan bandits. At the very least, I want to eliminate all the filthy and polluted Yuan bandits. Then, I want to lead the humans to rebuild their homeland. I want to let every human walk safely on every piece of land in this world. They don't have to worry about being eaten by someone at any time like now." Chapter 1548. Junior Brother, do you still hate us for eating your humans? Hearing Guhan's words, Goddess Yunxiao's expression turned ugly. "No, I won't hate this." Guhan smiled. "If humans can eat pork and chicken, why can't demons eat human flesh? The weak are prey to the strong, survival of the fittest. This is the great Tao of this world. If I want to blame someone, I should blame the great Tao. Why would I blame senior sisters and my disciples? Are you telling the truth?" Goddess Yunxiao looked deeply at Guhan and asked, "Yes, it's truer than real gold." Guhan said emotionally. Sigh. Goddess Yunxiao kept silent for a long time and finally straightened her body. With her back facing Guhan, She said plainly, "Go, leave tonight. It'll be too late if you don't leave now." Huff, huff, huff. Goddess Yinxiao didn't get a reply. She turned around and realized that Gohan had already fallen asleep. This guy actually got drunk under the good wine. Fine, this is probably fate. Mistress Yinxiao sighed. Junior brother, hurry up and change your clothes. Hurry up and change into these clothes. Early the next morning, he felt dizzy and cold. As soon as he opened his eyes, he heard the anxious voice of the incongruence Divine Mother. Senior sister, what's wrong? Why are you rushing me? Could it be that senior sister is getting married? Gohan got up from the bed and said with a gloomy face, Little rascal, don't tease me like this. Goddess Wudong knocked Gohan's head and said, Good news, Master is back. What? Gohan shuddered and woke up instantly. He asked excitedly, Senior sister, what did you say just now? Can you repeat it again? Who came back? It's Master. Master is back. Goddess Wudong said excitedly, I went to the exit just now and realized that Master's consciousness fragment that was left at the exit had been changed. The consciousness fragment that told us to stay calm in this alternate dimension has been replaced by a brand new consciousness fragment. This consciousness fragment is telling us that Master has already recovered, and he's probably rushing over here to bring us out. All right, that's enough. Junior brother, hurry up and change into these clothes. Otherwise, when Master gets here, it'll be a great crime of disrespect. The incongruence Divine Mother urged happily. All right, I miss you so much. Gohan's face was also full of joy. Of course, he was happy. He had stayed in this alternate dimension for a long time and pretended to be courteous to these monsters. There was only one reason. He wanted to find sect leader Tong Tian and then launch a fatal assassination on him. As it turned out, Gohan did not wait in vain. As Gohan had expected, Tong Tian had appeared in this strange space. The moment Tong Tian showed up will be the best time for Gohan to assassinate Tong Tian. Then quickly change your clothes. The incongruence Divine Mother threw a set of clothes to Gohan. What clothes are these? Why do I have to change into these clothes? Can't I wear my own clothes? Gohan weighed the clothes in his hand and found that it was a rather old set of clothes. Sniffing it with his nose, he could smell a strong, musty smell. He didn't know how long this set of clothes had been in the warehouse. Junior brother, you're a half-baked junior brother after all. You don't know the rules of our GS school. Usually, we can wear whatever we want. Master won't care about it. But when it's time to formally greet Master, we have to wear our GS school's Taoist robe. Otherwise, Master will be angry. Look, this is the GS school's Taoist robe. This is the symbol of our GS school. Only by wearing this Taoist robe can you be a disciple of our GS school. Don't look down on this Taoist robe. This Taoist robe is made from the nibbling of an ice silkworm left behind from the primordial era, along with hundreds of rare materials. It can defend against all attacks below the true immortal level. It can also calm one's mind and balance one's yin and yang. This Taoist robe can only be worn by inner chamber disciples like us. The others can only wear normal robes. This is the symbol of us inner chamber disciples. Incongruence Divine Mother said proudly. I see. Gohan nodded and touched the Taoist robe. He found that the texture was indeed unique. There was an icy, cold feeling to the touch, accompanied by a kind of stickiness. It was indeed not a feeling that any textile that Gohan knew of could have. But senior sister, it's not the prehistoric era anymore. The ice silkworm is extinct. Where did this Taoist robe come from? Gohan asked curiously. Sigh, this isn't someone else's Taoist robe. It's your poor senior brother, Zhao Gongming's Taoist robe. The incongruence Divine Mother sighed. This Taoist robe was given to Lady Yun Xiao by junior brother Zhao Gongming before he died. He hoped that Lady Yun Xiao would bring this Taoist robe back to Aquamarine Palace and bury it somewhere. It would be his last wish. Unfortunately, senior sister Yun Xiao was harmed by old Lord Taishan. She was suppressed under the Qilin Cliff for God knows how long. This Taoist robe has been with senior sister Yun Xiao. It only found a new owner today. I see. Gohan nodded emotionally. That's weird. Where did senior sister Yun Xiao go? Why didn't she give this Taoist robe to me personally? Oh, senior sister Yun Xiao has to be in charge of the preparations for Master's arrival. For example, things like the incense table and candles. It's rather complicated, so she has to handle it personally. That's why she asked me to guide you. I say, why do you have so much nonsense? If you don't put on this Taoist robe, Master will be here soon, the incongruous Divine Mother urged angrily. All right, senior sister, don't be angry. I'll just put it on. It's not a big deal. Guan laughed and put on the Taoist robe in front of the incongruous Divine Mother. The incongruous Divine Mother's anger turned into joy. She pulled Gahan's hand and said, "Hurry to the square. Master will be here soon." When Gahan and the incongruous Divine Mother arrived at the square, Lady Yun Xiao was indeed waiting there. At that moment, the entire alternate space was filled with the ringing of a bell. The ringing of the bell sounded extremely shocking at first. It was as if heaven and earth were being split apart. Those with weak cultivation might even have their souls torn apart by the ringing of the bell. However, when they listened to it for the second time, they could feel that apart from the ringing of the bell, there was also an endless murderous aura. Just the sound alone could kill everyone in the world. When they listened to it for the third time, they could hear that everything in the world came from the ringing of the bell. It was as if heaven and earth, as well as the chaos of the universe, originated from the ringing of the bell. All in all, each time they listened to the ringing of the bell, they could hear a completely different feeling. The greatness of the ringing of the bell had already surpassed the limits of what humans could imagine. It's Master's heaven-reaching bell. Master's heaven-reaching seed is ringing. Master is here. When the incongruous Divine Mother heard the ringing of the bell, she immediately shouted excitedly. Following the ringing of the bell, there was a song. The song sounded clear and melodious, but at the same time, it was ethereal and extraordinary. It came from the clouds and the sky. It was faint and indescribable. Gahan listened attentively and could clearly hear what the song was about. The principle of splitting heaven and earth is clear, discussing scriptures and techniques in Bio-Capital. The 5 Qis gathering essence technique. The 3 flowers at the head perform lifeless. The golden light above his head was colorful, and the red lotus under his feet chased after 10,000 miles. The 8 trigrams immortal robe flew with purple energy, and the 3 sharp treasured sword was named Qing Ping. Subduing tigers and dragons was the first. Capturing demons and restraining monsters was unstoppable. There were about 3,000 disciples, followed by the elites. The heavenly flowers fell endlessly, and the golden lotus bloomed on the ground. It is soundless to enlighten the masses and nurture the right path. The banners led the way, and the music sounded in time. The Kuei Neo sat steadily in front of the GS sect leader, and the immortal children burned the incense sticks. The dense sandalwood clouds were long, and the murderous aura was dense. When the white crane flew, the world turned, and the green phoenix spread its wings. The sea and mountains were clear. The Grand Master of Heaven left the Golden Palace and gathered 1,000,000 immortals. Hong Jun was born to see the heavens open and the ugly man on the altar. He refined the golden body infinite tribulation, and the green touring palace nurtured many talents. As time passed, the song was originally ethereal and unruly, and no one knew where it came from. It became like it was exploding in Guhan's ears. When the last sentence about nurturing many talents in the green touring palace, the incongruous Divine Mother immediately pulled Gahan to kneel on the ground. At the same time, she said softly, "Master is already here. Hurry up and kowtow to Master." Boom! After the sound of a heavy object landing on the ground, a leisurely sandalwood fragrance instantly spread throughout the entire square. The 8 great disciples of the GS sect, the unfilial disciple Wudong, kowtows to the Grand Master of Heaven. "Master, the world is everlasting. The sun and moon shine together and is indestructible." The incongruous Divine Mother lowered her head and said excitedly, The 8 great disciples of the Jie sect, the unfilial disciple Yun Shao, kowtows to the Grand Master of Heaven. Master, the world is everlasting. The sun and moon shine together and is indestructible. The incongruous Divine Mother lowered her head and said excitedly. At this moment, almost all the disciples of the Jie sect knelt down to congratulate their Grand Master's arrival. Only Gahan raised his head and stole a glance in front of him. He saw an old man standing quietly in front of everyone. His eyes seemed to be filled with the sun, moon, and stars, and was looking at everyone with a look that seemed to have the world in his heart. The Grand Master of Heaven. It's really the Grand Master of Heaven. Gohan recognized him immediately. Although this old man was slightly different from the Grand Master of Heaven he met in Chaser of the Nine States, he was exactly the same as the Grand Master of Heaven in the last memory of the Sage Relic. The real Grand Master of Heaven had actually appeared. Good disciples, it's been hard on you. You've suffered all these years. The Grand Master of Heaven let out a long sigh and walked slowly to the many disciples who knelt on the ground. He opened his arms gently, as if he wanted to hug everyone in his arms. This is the chance. Gohan's eyes lit up instantly. He unsheathed the Qingping sword in his hand and gathered all the strength in his body. Unexpectedly, he turned into a beam of light in an instant and stabbed toward the Grand Master of Heaven. Plop! After Gohan stabbed the Qingping sword into the Grand Master of Heaven's body, the Grand Master of Heaven's face revealed a look of disbelief. Then his body exploded in an instant. The Grand Master of Heaven died just like that? After the explosion, Gohan looked at the Qingping sword in his hand and thought to himself in disbelief. Gohan thought that he would have to go through a tough battle to kill the Grand Master of Heaven. He never expected that the Grand Master of Heaven would be killed with just one sword. Chapter 1549. It's fake. Gohan was not stupid. If Sect Leader Tong Tian could be killed so easily, it would not be Sect Leader Tong Tian. Therefore, the moment Sect Leader Tong Tian exploded, Gohan realized that he had killed a fake Sect Leader Tong Tian. At the same time, he might have fallen into a trap. Therefore, he did not care about the others and directly rushed out of the alternate space. Good disciples, stay. Suddenly, countless green lights surged out of nowhere and grabbed at Gohan. Open! The Qingping sword in Gohan's hand danced, and the green lights were all shattered by Gohan in an instant. However, at this time, Lady Yun Shao and Goddess Wudong attacked at the same time. One of them took out a big seal, and the other took out a golden dipper. The big seal instantly turned into a huge mountain and pressed down on Gohan's head. The golden dipper suddenly emitted a strong suction force. The suction force was so strong that it seemed to be able to suck everything in the world into it. Lee Mountain Seal and Primordial Chaos Golden Dipper. Seeing these two treasures, Gohan's expression changed instantly. Gohan, who had obtained the memory of the sage's relic, immediately recognized these two treasures. One of them was a primordial spiritual treasure, and the other was a primordial cardinal treasure. They were both the top weapons in Untainted Land, and also the life treasures of Goddess Wudong and Lady Yin Shao. Once these two treasures were in their hands, the strength of these two senior sisters would increase by more than 4 times. However, these two treasures had clearly been taken away by the primordial Lord of Heaven and Taishang Laojun. How did they return to their hands now? Junior brother, don't go. Stay here and wait for Master's punishment. Goddess Wudong said faintly, as if she had long been confident about Gohan's betrayal. I'm afraid you two senior sisters can't stop me. Gohan sneered. He held the Qingping sword in one hand and the Xianyuan sword in the other. Holding both swords in his hands at the same time, he directly activated the yin-yang sword technique. The power of the two sword ladies increased by more than several times in an instant. Heaven-splitting primal chaos. The two invincible sword ladies crossed each other in the air, and the terrifying sword chi directly collided with Lishan Yin and Primordial Chaos Golden Dipper. Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Shao did not expect Gohan to have such a powerful trump card. Even Li Shanin and the primordial chaos golden chalice could not withstand it. The two of them were sent flying. The houses in the town were turned into ashes by the collision of the four ultimate treasures. Countless monsters were bleeding from their orifices due to the strong power. Just as the monsters were about to die from the aftermath of the battle, the green light that had appeared earlier swept into the bodies of the monsters, allowing them to escape from the battlefield. Sect leader Tong Tian. Guhan looked at the green light and said while gritting his teeth, after obtaining his natal treasure, Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao were no longer easy opponents. At the moment, sect leader Tong Tian was hiding in the dark, so Guhan did not dare to continue fighting. He had to escape immediately. Therefore, after repelling the joint attack of Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao, Guhan did not continue to chase after them. Instead, he fled in the direction of the exit. Sigh, evil disciple. Suddenly, a faint sigh sounded in his heart. Guhan, who was fleeing for his life, suddenly felt a strong sense of suffocation. His entire body was suddenly squeezed by a huge force. This feeling was like his body was held in the palm of a giant, and at this moment, this giant was planning to crush his body. This Taoist robe is strange. Guhan immediately realized that the strange force came from the Taoist robe he was wearing. On second thought, wasn't this the Taoist robe that Goddess Wudong tried to tempt him to wear? At this moment, even a fool would understand that this Taoist robe was not an ordinary Taoist robe that only had defensive abilities. It was a tool that Goddess Wudong used to plot against him. It was a talisman that would hasten his death. He was completely tricked by Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao. Evil disciple, my 8 trigrams immortal robe is not something that you can wear. Sect leader Tong Tian's mocking voice rang in Guhan's ears. This is your 8 trigrams immortal robe. Guhan's eyes widened. The Taoist robe he was wearing was actually sect leader Tong Tian's 8 trigrams immortal robe. This robe was not famous in Untainted Land, but it was clearly shown in Saint Jieyin's memory that this 8 trigrams immortal robe was also a primordial spiritual treasure. It was worn by sect leader Tong Tian since he was born. It could be said to be one with sect leader Tong Tian. Although this robe was worn by Guhan, its owner was still sect leader Tong Tian. Therefore, sect leader Tong Tian could control this 8 trigrams immortal robe and was ready to crush Guhan's body. It's just a primordial spiritual treasure. Don't even think about trapping me. Guhan gritted his teeth and said. The Qingping sword and the Xianyuan sword in his hands flew up at the same time and pointed their sharp blades at his 8 trigrams immortal robe. Master, please forgive me for being unfilial. Today, I'll use your treasures to destroy your 8 trigrams immortal robe. If the Qingping sword and the Xianyuan sword were both primordial supreme treasures, it would not be too difficult for them to destroy the 8 trigrams immortal robe at the primordial spiritual treasure level. Is that so? Sect leader Tong Tian's voice rang out indifferently. Then, the Qingping sword floating behind Guhan suddenly attacked. When Guhan was caught off guard, it directly pierced through the 8 trigrams immortal robe on Guhan's body and pierced through Guhan's heart. Qingping, Guhan spat out several mouthfuls of blood. He lowered his head in disbelief and looked at the Qingping sword that had pierced through his chest. Then his eyes darkened, and he instantly fell from the sky, hitting the ground heavily. A huge flame erupted like a nuclear bomb, burning the entire alternate dimension red. Husband, please give up on the Qingping sword lady. Otherwise, one day, she will pierce through your chest. The moment Guhan lost consciousness, I Ching's words to Guhan in that small instance rang in Guhan's ears again. I'm sorry, Qing. You were right. I really died in the hands of Qingping. Guhan murmured in pain. Then, he instantly lost consciousness and collapsed on the crimson ground. Master, Lu Shihua, who was arduously commanding the humans to set up defenses and preparing to deal with the attack of Yuan Ko's army, suddenly felt his vision go black. It was as if he had lost something important in his heart. He collapsed in the office, giving the surrounding sword-bearers who were waiting for orders a great shock. Guhan, Lian Yinling felt a sharp pain in her heart as well. It felt as if her heart had been crushed by someone. However, Lian Yinling was stronger than Lu Shihua, so she struggled and did not faint. At the same time, in a warm room filled with childlike innocence, Gu Fan, who was sleeping soundly, began to wail loudly. It woke up when Mei Yun and her daughter, who had not slept for several days. In a world shrouded in darkness, where not a single ray of light could be seen, a blonde girl who was sleeping soundly suddenly opened her eyes. In Mount Paradise, which was singing majestically, the dust on the angel statues that stood on the highest peak of Mount Paradise fell off, revealing the pure white wings wrapped in the dust. In a colorful void world with a large number of floating corpses, a crystal tear fell from a mature beauty's eye. Her limbs were tightly bound by countless chains, making it impossible for her to move. On the side of a river, a middle-aged man trembled as he looked at the water in front of him. Behind him was Fleeting Maple, the balancer from another world, whom Gohan had only met once. "Father, this is a calamity that he and she will have to go through. You are already an outsider, so don't interfere." Finally, in a heavenly court that was filled with Buddhas, the Jade Emperor, who was sitting high up with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes as if he had received a signal. He said to the surrounding Buddhas, "Do it." Gohan did not know that his death had ushered in a great change in countless worlds. Cough, cough. Gohan finally opened his eyes, and the first thing that came into view was Gohan's own body. However, do not misunderstand, Gohan did not see his own body when he lowered his head. His own body was currently floating in front of him, at least a dozen meters away from him, and the Qingping sword was still stuck in his heart. As for how Gohan could see the body that was more than 10 meters away from him, it was naturally because Gohan's head had been separated from his body. The headless body stood in the distance, while Gohan's head was somewhere else. Sorry, Gohan had lost the ability to lower his head, so he could only see the scenery in front of him. Gohan could not see what was below his head. "You're awake." A familiar voice sounded in his ear. Although Gohan could not see the owner of the voice, he could tell that it was Lady Yunzhao's voice. "I would rather not have woken up." Gohan looked at his separated body, his eyes filled with deep sorrow. "I already reminded you to leave, but you..." Lady Yunzhao's voice contained many complicated emotions. "Thank you, senior sister, but there are some things that cannot be avoided. You made your choice, and I made my choice too. As for Qingping, she has also made her own choice." Gohan said indifferently. There was not the slightest hint of regret in his words, only endless sorrow. Being stabbed in the heart by his first sword lady, who was also his favorite and most treasured sword lady, was the biggest blow to Gohan. Gohan's heart was already broken, although Gohan did not have a heart now. Chapter 1550. Good disciple, you have to remember, whether it's the Qingping sword or the 4 fairy slaying swords, they're my swords, not yours. You're just a pawn used by my 2 unscrupulous senior brothers. Gohan felt as if his head was being lifted by something. Then, Tongtian's old face appeared in front of him. At that moment, Gohan finally saw his surroundings. As far as the eye could see, there was lush greenery everywhere, and at the same time it was filled with fresh and fragrant air. In the distance, he could even see the faintly discernible silhouette of the largest city. With one glance, Gohan could recognize that it was Yinjing City. "I'm back in the main world." At that moment, Gohan understood that he had been taken out of the alternate dimension and arrived in the main world. Moreover, he was not far from Yinjing City. It was only about 100 kilometers away from Yinjing City. Only at this distance could he see the city walls of Yinjing City so clearly. At that moment, Gohan's head and body were actually floating in the air. Apart from Tongtian, Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunzhao were also behind him. "Since these swords belong to Master, why don't you just kill me? Why did you wake me up?" Although Gohan was in Tongtian's hands, he did not show the slightest hint of fear. "You're very calm. This is very similar to me." Tongtian could not help but praise Gohan when he saw how calm he was. "It's nothing. If one day you're in my hands like today and can't fight back, you'll lose all your fear. At most, you'll just die. Gohan smiled. He indeed looked like a human who had completely let go of life and death. It's not that easy to die. Tong Tian looked at Gohan meaningfully. I have 1,000 ways to make you feel like you're better off dead than alive. If I may be so bold, is there anything in this world that's more painful than splitting a consciousness fragment? Gohan asked curiously. No. Sect leader Tong Tian was calm. Then, Master, please torture your disciple. Your disciple can endure anything. Master, please do it. Gohan smiled. Ha ha ha. Your temper and mouth are like mine. It would be great if you were really my disciple. Tong Tian laughed and threw Gohan's head away. Lady Yinxiao immediately flew up and held Gohan's head in her arms. Good disciple. I'm not like your Uncle Master and Uncle Master who like to talk. You're not like the two scoundrels of the Western sect who like to play tricks. Open your dimensional pocket and take out the 4 immortal slaying swords inside. Then, I'll let you live and let you reunite with your body. Then, you can return to your Yanjing city. In the future, you and I will fight again to decide the ownership of the world. What do you think? Sect leader Tong Tian laughed out loud. Master, you really want the 4 fairy slaying swords? Gohan could not help but smile. Disciples Zhu Xian 4 swords are in that dimensional pocket. Master's power is unparalleled, and you are also the only saint in the world. You could have forcefully opened Disciple's dimensional pocket. Why would you let Disciple live? Humph! If I could open your dimensional pocket, you unfilial Disciple would have been dead already. I definitely wouldn't spare your life. After all, you are the last chi of this world, and this is the best opportunity to kill you. I really don't want to let go of this opportunity. Sect leader Tong Tian said coldly. Ha ha ha. In your eyes, the 4 fairy slaying swords are more important than the world? Gohan asked. Tong Tian did not answer. He just looked at Gohan quietly. Gohan's heart was clear. The reason why Tong Tian's sect leader kept him alive was because of the 4 immortal execution swords. As soon as he found out that it was a trap, Gohan stuffed all the 4 fairy slaying swords into the dimensional pocket and sealed them firmly. He even used consciousness fragments to block the entrance of the dimensional pocket. This made it impossible for Tong Tian to break the dimensional pocket by force. Unless Gohan agreed, it was impossible to open Gohan's dimensional pocket in any case. This was the only reason why Gohan survived. It seemed that Tong Tian still had a deep hatred for the 4 fairy slaying swords. It was just that it was unknown whether Tong Tian wanted to get the 4 fairy slaying swords to take back what belonged to him or to take revenge. After all, if it were not for the betrayal of the 4 fairy slaying swords, it was very likely that Tong Tian would have defeated his fellow disciples. Why did he have to endure endless torture in the seamless corridor? Master, if you want the 4 fairy slaying swords, I can't agree to your deal. Gohan finally said after a long silence. All right. I can swear to my true self that as long as you hand over the 4 immortal exterminating swords to me, I will allow you and your body to fuse together. Furthermore, I will not appear to cause trouble for you for 30 years. 30 years later, you and I will fight again and finally decide the fate of the world. Tong Tian said lightly. These words sounded like empty words, but since Tong Tian swore to his true self, it was enough to prove the authenticity of this oath. Ha, Master, in order to kill me, I'm afraid you've already used up what's left of your consciousness fragments. These 30 years are probably used by Master to recuperate. Even if you don't take this oath, these 30 years are also mine. Master, don't lie to me anymore. Gohan laughed and unceremoniously exposed the true situation of sect leader Tong Tian. So what? Seeing that his purpose had been exposed by Gohan, Tong Tian did not change his expression at all. He still said in a calm tone, If you don't agree, you won't even have 30 years. Didn't I agree just now? Gohan smiled bitterly. But you and I can change the conditions. Suddenly, I don't want the 30 years. I only want another condition. What condition? Tong Tian asked with narrowed eyes. Master, you can take the 4 fairy slaying swords, but I hope that you can leave the Qingping sword for me. Gohan finally said this condition. You want the Qingping sword. A trace of killing intent flashed across Tong Tian's eyes. I understand. You want revenge, right? You want to avenge Qingping's sword for plotting against you yesterday. Yes. Guhan stared blankly at Tong Tian, not concealing the grief, anger, and killing intent in his heart. Qingping is the first sword lady in my life, and she's also my favorite. I treat her like my own daughter and give her everything I can. But in the end, Disciple did not change her at all. The moment she inserted herself into Disciple's heart was already dead. If Disciple does not take revenge, then Disciple will never be able to revive, and Disciple will no longer have a need to live. Guhan said through gritted teeth. I see. I can understand your feelings very well. Hearing Guhan's words, Tong Tian's eternally unchanging face suddenly revealed an expression of deep sympathy. Good Disciple, I'm actually the same as you. 1,000 years ago, when I saw the 4 immortal slaying swords, which I had painstakingly refined for tens of millions of years, insert them into my body, I felt the same as you now. Even though I had already severed the 3 separations, I still can't forget that bone-deep hatred. Tong Tian said faintly. So, after you got the 4 immortal slaying swords back, you had to tear out all the souls of these 4 evil creatures and trap them in the time void that has no future. Only by making them suffer for endless years could you make up for the hatred in your heart. Tong Tian's words made Divine Mother Wudong and Mistress Cloud Sky, who were behind Gahan, shiver. They had heard of the time void before. It was said that it was a place where time could not touch. Similar to the seamless corridor, it was a place where there was no concept of time, and a moment there was equal to eternity. However, the difference between the seamless corridor and the seamless corridor was that the seamless corridor had an exit, but the time void had absolutely no exit. Even a saint would not be able to escape after entering the time void, because it was the graveyard of the world, the place where countless worlds died and collapsed. Unless one could surpass all the worlds, it was impossible to leave the time void. That's great. Since Master can understand my pain, please give me the Qingping sword, and I will definitely return the 4 immortal slaying swords to you. Guhan said immediately. Disciple, if only one sword stays by your side when all your sword ladies betray you, and uses its own life to protect you, even if it becomes an ordinary sword in the end, will you let this sword leave your side and give it to your enemy? Tong Tian said lightly. I see. I understand now. Guhan's face darkened, and he said emotionally, Master, please do it. You can raise other conditions, and I might be able to agree to it. Tong Tian tried to persuade Guhan when he saw the determination on his face. There's no point in saying more. I don't have any conditions other than the Qingping sword. Guhan rejected him quite straightforwardly. Oh, so even the city in front of you can't change your mind? Tong Tian pointed at Yinjing City in front of him and said, Haha, please forgive me for being blunt, but there are your grand disciples in Yinjing City, as well as the successor of the Liunian family and hundreds of thousands of swordbearers. With your current strength, I'm afraid you can't touch Yinjing City at all. Guhan said indifferently. Disciple, you're right. I can't touch this city now, and I don't want to touch this city either. However, if I don't move, the others won't. Coincidentally, they've already arrived. As soon as Tong Tian's voice trailed off, countless clouds pressed down from the distant sky, covering the entire sky like giant prehistoric beasts. This was only the strange phenomenon in the sky. In the distant west, countless magical beasts' army were rushing over in a frenzy. In the east, all kinds of humans and demons were also coming over by treading on the sea. Finally, countless dimensional doors opened, and many human heroic spirits broke through the void and floated quietly in the sky of Yinjing City. The Heavenly Court, the Western Magical Beasts, the Fusong Divine Branch, and finally the Heroic Spirit Palace. These 4 largest Yuan-Ko factions had come out in full force, and more than 90% of their forces were gathered near Yinjing City. They planned to completely destroy the remaining human forces in one fell swoop. Just by looking at the strength of the parties involved in the battle, This was already the most powerful battle in the past 1,000 years, with the greatest number of enemies. The humans were also facing the most dangerous moment in the past 1,000 years. The degree of danger was even greater than that of the 12th Zhu. If the humans could win this battle, they would be able to wipe out all the Yuan Ko factions in one fell swoop, and the rule of the world would completely return to the hands of the humans. However, if the humans were defeated, there would probably no longer be a human race in this world. Chapter 1551. Sigh. Seeing the crisis that humans were in, Gahan, who only had a head left, could not help but burst into tears. He looked at the city in the distance, as if he could see Lu Shihua and Liu Yanling fighting in Yanjing City. How about it? Have you made up your mind? Sect leader Tong Tian asked calmly after waiting for a while. Master, you don't have to persuade me anymore. Gahan smiled. I'm not stupid. I'm afraid that the 4 fairy-killing swords are the key to destroying this world. If Master did not obtain the 4 immortal slaying swords, then perhaps this world could still continue to exist. But if Master obtains the 4 immortal slaying swords, then we humans will truly die without a burial ground. So what if we have another 30 years? It's just a cup of soil. No, I'm afraid that even the soil will be gone by then. You're quite clear about this. Sect leader Tong Tian sneered, but he did not deny what sect leader Tong Tian said. He seemed to not want to persuade Gahan anymore, so he left directly. Before he left, he warned Goddess Wudong and Lady Yun Xiao, who were guarding the place, that Gahan must not have a moment to rest. They must keep Gahan's eyes on Yanjing City, so that Gahan could see everything that was happening in Yanjing City at all times. Soon, the reason for sect leader Tong Tian's order was revealed. On the second day after sect leader Tong Tian disappeared, Yuan Ko's army was finally ready. The allied army of the 4 major forces, as well as some small forces that were summoned by the 4 major forces, appeared one after another. They launched a desperate attack on Yanjing City with the 4 major forces. Fortunately, the dimensional wall system in Yanjing City had been repaired. Humans could rely on the complete dimensional wall to resist the attack of Yuan Ko's army. Both sides were in a stalemate around the dimensional wall for a whole day. Although Yuan Ko attacked very valiantly, he did not make much progress. After all, Yanjing City's dimensional barrier system was extremely thick. Even the 12 Zhu had to attack for half a year to break through it. It was simply impossible for Yuan Ko's army to destroy the dimensional barrier in just one day. However, what everyone did not expect was that on that night, with a loud explosion under Yanjing City, the entire superdimensional wall system instantly vanished in a thin air. While the human sword-bearers were in a daze, Yanjing City's greatest means of protection had already been destroyed. There's a mole. A mole destroyed our dimensional barrier system. Countless sword-bearers wailed. This sudden news had completely disrupted the minds of all the humans. The originally calm humans suddenly became extremely terrified. They couldn't understand how the core control room of the superdimensional wall system, which was obviously so well protected and had several spirit sword-level sword-bearers specially guarding it, was completely destroyed by the opponent in an instant. Those spirit sword-level sword-bearers who were guarding the door didn't even have time to react before they died in the hands of the opponent. And of course, Yuan Ko would not let go of such a wonderful opportunity. As soon as these Yuan Kos noticed the destruction of Yanjing City's dimensional wall system, they immediately reorganized their army and rushed to Yanjing City like a surging river. In a panic, under the leadership of Lu Shihua and Liu Yanling, the humans stood on the city wall regardless of life and death and began to fight desperately with these Yuan Kos on the city wall. Although the human resistance was brave, Yanjing City was too big. The wall alone was hundreds of kilometers long, and on average, there were less than 5 sword-bearers guarding every 100 meters. Facing the tide-like army of Yuan Ko, the human sword-bearers often resisted for less than 2 or 3 minutes before their shields were broken, and they died in the hands of Yuan Kos. In an hour, The casualties of the human sword-bearers had exceeded 30%. The outermost city wall was breached, and the humans began to retreat frantically, directly abandoning the 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd city walls. All the sword-bearers gathered on the 2nd city wall, barely blocking the crazy offensive of Yuan Ko's. Because the 2nd city wall was the city wall that protected the entire core area, it was also the last barrier of human beings. Thanks to the 1-hour resistance of the sword-bearers at the outermost city wall, a large number of ordinary people were able to retreat to the core area protected by the 2nd city wall. But when they retreated here, the humans had nowhere to retreat. The remaining human refugees were squeezed in the core area like sardines in a can. There were more than 20 people standing on each square meter of land, so one could imagine how bloated the core area was at this time. To put it bluntly, if any Yuan Ko threw a light cannon down, it could kill hundreds or thousands of humans. However, because the core area was small, the total length of the 2nd city wall was only slightly more than 20 kilometers. The human sword-bearers had already formed a complete defense line on this city wall, and Yuan Ko's group could not break through the defense of the 2nd city wall for a while. Therefore, the situation was once again in a stalemate. However, every human knew that this stalemate was only temporary, and, at the same time, it was also the last chance that the humans had for a stalemate. Once the 2nd city wall was breached, the humans would lose all means of defense, and all the ordinary people would be directly exposed to Yuan Ko's attack. At that time, the only choice that the humans had was to forcefully spread the human elites to various places in the world, let them hide, and wait for the opportunity to rise again. In the end, whether the humans would have the opportunity to rise again or not, only the will of the heavens would know. Fighting the heavens. Fighting the heavens. On the 2nd line of defense, a sword-bearer suddenly let out a heart-wrenching roar, because at this moment, his sword lady was torn into pieces under the siege of more than 10 Yuan Ko's, and the body of the sword was trampled into pieces. This sword-bearer lost his most beloved and last sword lady. At this moment, he was filled with grief and indignation, and tears of blood flowed from his eyes. Hongjun Jindi, Your Majesty Hongjun, where are you? Please save us. All of a sudden, this sword-bearer shouted into the sky. His voice was so painful that it seemed to be able to penetrate the entire sky. Yes, Hongjun Jindi, where exactly is he now? Your Majesty Hongjun, save us. Your Majesty, save the humans, come out quickly. This shout seemed to arouse the thoughts of everyone else. Those sword-bearers who were in grief, indignation, and fear began to shout the name of Guhan and Hongjun Jindi in unison, hoping that the most powerful sword-bearer in human history could appear in front of them in time and save them from this desperate situation that was close to death. Gahan, where are you? Come back quickly. Even Lin Yinling could not help shouting Gahan's name miserably while being surrounded by 5 Hong-level Yuan Ko's. Chapter 1552. What the humans didn't know was that Hongjun Jindi Gahan, who was constantly being shouted and prayed to by them, hoping that he would come to save all humans like a savior, was now only left with his head floating in the air. He was being oppressed by 2 strong people at the flood level to watch and listen to the sorrowful cries of the humans. As for the purpose, there was no need to guess. Sect leader Tong Tian clearly knew that it was impossible to conquer Gahan with physical torture. Then the only thing that could be used was Guhan's obsession and protection of human beings. Sect leader Tong Tian was indeed an old monster who had lived for tens of millions of years. He clearly knew what could really threaten Gahan. Sect leader Tong Tian, come out. I agree to your request. I'll make a deal with you. Gahan shouted wildly. As Gahan's voice sounded, Sect leader Tong Tian appeared in front of Gahan. Good disciple, you finally figured it out, Sect leader Tong Tian said with a smile. This is all thanks to Master. If Master hadn't entered Yinjing City overnight yesterday and destroyed the control core of the super-dimensional wall protection system in Yinjing City, how could I have agreed to Master's request so readily? Gahan smiled miserably and looked at sect leader Tongtian. To be able to silently penetrate the super-dimensional wall protection system of Yinjing City, completely destroy the control core in a very short period of time, and even directly kill several spirit sword-level sword-bearers with one sword strike. Who else in this world could do this except for the sect leader of Tongtian? It should be known that sect leader Tongtian was not Yuan Ko. He was a sage, the sage of all the worlds, including the main world and the dimensional world. Even the source of filth came from sect leader Tongtian. Sect leader Tongtian was by no means Yuan Ko, so it was naturally impossible for him to be stopped by the super-dimensional wall protection system that resisted Yuan Ko. He could easily enter the control core and destroy it at the same time. It's not Master's fault. It's your fault. If you hadn't disobeyed Master again and again, Master wouldn't have done such a thing, Tongtian said. Master, can I ask you a question? Gahan looked at Tongtian and asked weakly. Of course, my good disciple. Grandmaster Tongtian laughed. Dare I ask, Master, if I return the 4 immortal slaying swords to Master and commit suicide in front of Master, would Master be willing to let the humans go? Even if all humans become Master's slaves and work like cows and horses for Master? I only ask for Master's great kindness and benevolence to give up the thought of destroying humanity and the world. I will once again sit as the king of humanity and the master of the world. Is this enough to satisfy Master? Guhan said with tears streaming down his face. From these words, it could be heard that Guhan no longer wanted to live. He only hoped that he could use his death to exchange for the survival of humans, even if he had to become a slave. Instead of answering Guhan's question directly, Tongtian asked Gahan another question. Hey, disciple, do you know why Master decided to destroy the world and forge a new one? I don't know. Okay, then Master will tell you why. Tongtian stopped smiling, and his face became extremely serious. Let me tell you a truth that even a child knows. If you write a word wrongly, you have to find a way to erase it and write it again. If a word is like that, then what about a world? If the world is wrong, then it should be destroyed and a new world should be created. In fact, disciple, you have always misunderstood me. In your heart, I may be a selfish villain, an ambitious person who wants to control the whole world by myself, right? After saying that, Tongtian looked at Gahan with an inquiring look. However, Gahan lowered his head and did not directly answer Tongtian's question. Obviously, he had acquiesced to this point. You don't have to feel embarrassed. In fact, not only you, but my 5 senior brothers and sisters also think so. In their hearts, Tongtian, have always been like this. I only have myself in my heart, and no one else. At this point, a disdainful sneer suddenly appeared on sect leader Tongtian's face. But they never thought that if I, sect leader Tongtian, only wanted to benefit myself, why would I take in so many disciples, teach them all my skills, and give my primordial spiritual treasures and primordial supreme treasures to them? Ask your 2 senior sisters. Which one of them didn't grow to their current strength under the guidance of Master? I, sect leader Tongtian, ask myself if I'm worthy of every disciple under me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have fought with your 5 shameless senior brothers and sisters for those poor disciples who lost their lives in vain in the great war of God Confirmant. Let me ask you, except for me, who among my 5 senior brothers and sisters has accepted more disciples than me? Who else could give all the treasures except for the primordial supreme treasures of the sect to their disciples? Neither Yuan Shi, Tianzuan, nor Taishang Laojun has given any primordial spiritual treasure, let alone primordial supreme treasures. In terms of selflessness, I, Tongtian, am the most selfless person in the untainted land and the universe. Selfish people like my 5 senior brothers and sisters, who only think about themselves and don't care about others, don't deserve to be saints at all. They don't even have the qualification to be saints. They only deserve to be dogs. Tongtian's face flushed. Good disciple, you must have heard of this saying. Saints are heartless and regard all living things as straw dogs. But I don't accept this saying. I want to turn this saying into saints are benevolent and regard all living things as their children and grandchildren. Therefore, I want to create a world of great benevolence and righteousness. The saints in this world are all responsible for the world. They love each other and influence the entire world with great benevolence and righteousness. Only such a world is a true world, a truly perfect world. This is the world that Master wants to create. At this point, Tong Tian finally finished his words, and Guhan was dumbfounded as he listened. For a long time, Guhan's thinking was very simple. He thought that the reason why Tong Tian wanted to destroy the world was that he wanted revenge or to break through to a higher realm and achieve unprecedented achievements. However, Guhan had never thought that Tong Tian would have such an idea. He wanted to create a new world full of benevolence, righteousness, and love. The greatness of this ideal was comparable to that of Confucius and Marx, the great pioneers of the past. Of course, it was also possible that Tong Tian was lying. He was just trying to deceive Guhan. No one knew what he was really thinking. However, Guhan had a feeling in his heart that what Tong Tian said was true. This was what he was thinking in his heart. After all, at Tong Tian's level, lying had become meaningless. His every word and action was determined by his own will. It was like a human telling an ant that he did not want to kill it, but trampling the ant to pieces. Unless this person was a psychopath, it was meaningless at all. Who would deceive an ant? After that, Tong Tian looked at Guhan curiously and asked, "Good disciple, what do you think after hearing my dream?" "No, in terms of dreams, I agree with you very much. I'm even willing to sacrifice my life to realize your dream." Guhan took a deep breath and said, "But Master, if this is your dream, you can realize it now. Except for you, the other 5 sages are all dead. You're the only sage. You can change the whole world according to your dream. Why do you have to destroy this world and create another one? I'm willing to swear to God that I'll use all my abilities to help you realize your dream for the rest of my life. Please, Master, leave this world." "I can't." Tong Tian shook his head. "Although my 5 senior and junior brothers and junior sisters are dead, my master is still alive. I'm not invincible in the world. Hong Jun ancestor, he's not dead yet." Guhan was shocked by the news, but after thinking about it carefully, it was not strange. After all, Hong Jun ancestor was a realm higher than sect leader Tong Tian. How could he die in the hands of sect leader Tong Tian so easily? This was simply unbelievable. Now the question was, where was the real Hong Jun ancestor? Was he hiding somewhere to recuperate, just like Tong Tian's sect leader? Just as Guhan was thinking about this, Tong Tian suddenly laughed. "Good disciple, don't think too much. My master is far away, but he's right in front of you. Far away, but he's right in front of you?" Guhan was not stupid. After hearing Tong Tian's words, he immediately understood. Hong Jun ancestor was not someone else, but himself. Hong Jun Jiandi. Hong Jun ancestor. It's destined. Guhan suddenly realized. He had never thought of this until he was mentioned by Tong Tian. Only then did Guhan realize that he was Hong Jun ancestor who had disappeared. How could there be so many coincidences in the world? Guhan was born with an extraordinary aptitude. He was born with the ability to synchronize with all the sword maidens. He was born with the ability to quickly master a profound technique like the 9 swords of mysterious heaven. He was also able to use his own strength to create a supreme sword technique like the chaos sword technique. At the same time, he was also loved by Kenzu, Taishang Laojun, Saint Jiayin, and others. He also easily synchronized the 4 immortal killing swords. Even his title was named Hong Jun Jiandi. All of this was not a coincidence, nor was it a compelling aura. It was because Guhan was extraordinary. He was the first sage since the creation of the untainted land. He had integrated with the way of heaven and was second only to the great way in Pangu, Hong Jun ancestor. What? 9th junior brother is Hong Jun ancestor. It was also the first time Divine Mother Wudong and Mistress Yun Xiao had heard of this shocking news. They looked at Guhan, who only had a head left, in disbelief. They could not understand how this 9th junior brother, who had been drinking with them a few days ago, turned out to be their master's master's master. He was the biggest boss in the untainted land, Hong Jun ancestor. You two don't have to be too shocked. If he is really the reincarnation of Master, I don't have the guts to call him my disciple. Although my master has always been stingy with me, he is my master who imparted Tao to me. I won't disobey him to this extent. Tong Tian said. Hearing Tong Tian's words, Goddess Wudong and Goddess Yunxiao unconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. But at the same time, they were curious. If Gohan was not the reincarnation of Hong Jun ancestor, what was Gohan's real identity? Why did he have anything to do with Hong Jun ancestor? First of all, I want to correct your misconception. Hong Jun ancestor is not a person, but an identity. Just like how he is called Hong Jun Jinni now. Sect leader Tong Tian explained. Everyone, including Gohan, showed an expression of listening attentively. I didn't know the so-called truth of this world until 1,000 years ago. In your eyes, we are now stepping on the main world. Surrounding the main world are the dimensional worlds, and this main world is the core of all the worlds. Actually, it's not like that. In fact, the main world we are in is just a dimensional world. The real main world is not our world. As for where the real main world is, I don't know. I only know that the existence in the main world is watching us silently. In their eyes, we are just like puppets. How could this be? How could our world not be the main world? Lady Yun Zhao's eyes widened. If her master hadn't said it herself, she wouldn't have believed it. How could her world not be the main world? I really do exist in this world. What's going on with those dimensional worlds? If our world is not the primary world, then what are those dimensional worlds that are attached to our world? Are they a lower-level world? Gohan asked absent-mindedly. No, those worlds are still dimensional worlds. Tong Tian said as he waved his sleeves. Dozens of balls of the same size floated beside him. Tong Tian pointed at one of the balls and said, "This is our dimensional world." Then he pointed at the other balls and said, "These are the other dimensional worlds." All the dimensional worlds actually overlapped with each other. There was no distinction between primary and secondary, and there was no distinction between strong and weak. Every dimensional world was the same. And when the light shines on these worlds, as soon as sect leader Tong Tian finished speaking, countless rays of light shone from all directions and shot toward these balls. Therefore, Gohan was able to see the shadows cast by other worlds on the balls that represented his own world. These shadows are the dimensional worlds that you see in our world. These dimensional worlds that look inferior to the main world are actually the projections of countless main worlds in this world. Therefore, although they are of the same level as the main world, they are much weaker than our world and can only be dimensional worlds. This is the truth of this world. Tong Tian concluded. Chapter 1553. What does it have to do with me being Hong Jun ancestor? Gohan asked with a frown. He had no idea what the world Tong Tian's sect master mentioned had to do with Hong Jun ancestor. The reason why a main world is born is because of the existence of its main character. Perhaps it can be said that the entire world was born because of the existence of this main character. To put it bluntly, your teacher is only a slightly more important supporting character. Tong Tian's sect master said with a smile. And this protagonist is called Hong Jun. The protagonist when the world was created was Hong Jun ancestor. Now, the protagonist is Hong Jun Jinni. Isn't that what it means to be a leveler? Upon hearing Tong Tian's sect master's explanation, Gohan suddenly recalled what Fleeting Maple had told him about the identity of a leveler. Master, since Hong Jun ancestor is the protagonist of the world, how did he die in your hands? Since he's the protagonist, it's impossible for him to die. Gohan asked curiously. That's all thanks to you. Sect leader Tong Tian's words shocked Gohan. Does the death of Hong Jun ancestor have anything to do with me? Gohan thought. Hong Jun was the protagonist of the previous era, and you're the protagonist of this era. When two Hong Juns are protagonists, they can't meet each other. Once they meet, one of them must die. Tong Tian's sect master said. But I've never seen Hong Jun ancestor. How could we? Tong Tian's sect master's words made Gohan even more confused. It's true that you haven't met him face to face, but you've met my master's consciousness fragment once. Moreover, it was when my master was still alive. Tong Tian's sect master looked at Gahan meaningfully. Good disciple, do you remember the treasure-snatching rock? The treasure-snatching rock? Guhan recalled that in the world of 9 provinces, which he thought was an illusion, his consciousness fragment had entered the treasure-snatching rock and taken the 4 immortal-killing swords away from the rock in order to obtain them. Could it be? Yes, the treasure-snatching rock was actually something that my master used to monitor me. I didn't know about it and kept it at home like a treasure. Now that I think about it, my master must have known that I was the one who would kill him long ago. He had been guarding against me for a long time. Fortunately, you came. Your consciousness fragment entered the treasure-snatching rock and met Master's consciousness fragment at the same time. When they met, Master's consciousness fragment died on the spot. The treasure-snatching rock, which was secretly controlled by Master, also fell apart because it lost its master and became a pile of fragments. Later, I used those fragments to forge that alternate space. That's why you could enter that alternate space so easily, because it was originally formed because of your existence. At the same time, when your consciousness fragments collided with each other, the eternal world brush, which was powerful enough to destroy the world, was born. This brush is the greatest treasure you've ever given me. At this point, Tong Tian's sect master took out a brush from his body. It was a very ordinary brush, so ordinary that Gahan could not see anything different about it. This eternal world brush looks ordinary. In fact, it's so ordinary that it can't even kill a chicken. But it was formed by Hongjuan's destroyed consciousness fragment. It's the only treasure in the world that can kill my master. It's because of this brush that I was able to kill my master. Otherwise, my master would have wanted to kill me. Given my master's realm, which was about to transcend the Great Way, I was not his match at all. Listening to Tong Tian's sect master's words and looking at the ordinary brush, Gahan could not help but have a frightening guess. If this eternal world brush was Hongjuan's nemesis and had killed the previous Hongjun, would Zhang Tai, who is Hongjun in this life, also be killed by this brush? Unfortunately, Tong Tian's sect master did not want to answer Gahan's question. He quickly put away the eternal world brush and did not let Gahan see it. Then, he stretched out a hand to Gahan and said, I've told you what you want to know. Release the 4 immortal killing swords, and I'll send you back to save your humans. Master, please put the dimensional pocket in my hand first, Gahan said with a wry smile. Like this? Tong Tian's sect master moved his finger, and the dimensional pocket that was originally hanging on Gahan's waist appeared on Gahan's palm. However, there was no reaction from the dimensional pocket. The 4 immortal killing swords did not come out of the pocket. Are you kidding me? Sect leader Tong Tian's face was filled with anger. Disciple doesn't dare. Disciple has forgotten. Disciple no longer has a hand, so I'll have to trouble Master to place the dimensional pocket on Disciple's head. Any position is fine, as long as Disciple's true self can come into contact with the dimensional pocket. Disciple will be able to take out the 4 immortal slaying swords, Guhan replied. Yin Xiao, you go. Tong Tian's sect master hesitated for a moment, as if he was worried that Gahan would play some tricks. Therefore, he finally nodded to Yun Xiao and asked her to take the dimensional pocket and put it on Gahan's head. Without any hesitation, Yun Xiao quickly carried out Tong Tian's sect master's order and put the dimensional pocket on Gahan's head. This time he was right. The dimensional pocket, which was originally tightly closed, slowly opened. Immortal killing sword, immortal extinguishing sword, immortal killing sword, immortal trapping sword. 4 sword ladies slowly flew out of the dimensional pocket and floated in front of Tong Tian. Immortal slaying, immortal ending, immortal trapping, immortal slaying. You finally appeared again. I, your master, have finally found you. This time, you can forget about escaping from my grasp. At this point, Tong Tian still had a kind expression on his face, looking as amiable as a next-door neighbor. However, in the next second, sect leader Tong Tian's expression suddenly changed. His amiable expression turned into one of viciousness and anger. "You four bitches! How dare you betray me back then? Today, I will let you experience the feeling of being betrayed by others. So what if you found a new master? Didn't he still throw you to me in the end?" At this moment, Tong Tian's resentment toward the four immortal slaying swords finally erupted. He made a grabbing motion toward the four immortal slaying swords, and they flew toward his palm involuntarily. Right at this moment, a ray of light that was as fast as lightning suddenly flashed out of the dimensional pocket. Even with sect leader Tong Tian's eyesight, he could not even see the appearance of this ray of light clearly. The ray of light had already swept the four immortal slaying swords and pierced sect leader Tong Tian's internal organs. "Bastard!" Tong Tian's sect master spat out a mouthful of golden blood. He then grabbed the four immortal killing swords that had pierced into his body and wanted to pull them out. However, before Tong Tian's sect master could exert any strength, the four immortal killing swords flew out by themselves and flew in four different directions. Finally, they suppressed the four directions. A colorful light shield, like a sky curtain, instantly enveloped the entire battlefield. Chapter 1554. Immortal Killing Sword Formation. Sect leader Tong Tian covered the four bleeding wounds on his body with one hand and looked incredulously at the four immortal killing swords that were suppressing the four directions in the air. This scene was clearly sect leader Tong Tian's trump card, the immortal killing sword formation. However, at this moment, the immortal killing sword formation was in the hands of another person, and this person even used it against him. "Gohan!" Sect leader Tong Tian immediately looked at Gohan. "He's here." Lady Yinxiao raised Gohan's head in her hand. Gohan's head was still in her hand, and Gohan's body was still hundreds of meters away from Gohan. "This is impossible. This is impossible. Your body has clearly been separated from your head, and there is no sword essence in your body. How can you use the four immortal killing swords and the immortal killing sword formation?" Sect leader Tong Tian said in disbelief. He could not understand how Gohan could use the immortal killing sword formation with only his head. Although sect leader Tong Tian had just been resurrected, he had a good understanding of the sword bearers through the impurities that returned to his body, which were fragments of consciousness. He knew that if the sword bearers wanted to control the sword ladies, they must be responsible for providing sword essence to them, and at the same time, their minds must be able to communicate with the sword scars in their bodies. Therefore, sect leader Tong Tian separated Gohan's head from his body in advance and isolated the connection between them with magic. Gohan's body seemed to be only hundreds of meters away from Gohan, but in fact, it was in another space. Therefore, it was impossible for Gohan to receive the support of the sword essence and sword scars in his body. Therefore, sect leader Tong Tian was very sure that Gohan could not control the four immortal killing swords. However, what happened in front of him completely disrupted sect leader Tong Tian's understanding. "Who said my head is separated from my body?" A void gate was opened in the sky. Gohan walked out of the void gate with his clean clothes and elegant demeanor. The moment Gohan appeared, the four immortal slaying swords simultaneously let out a series of sword cries as if responding to their master. If there was any inharmonious factor at this moment, it would be the fact that Gohan didn't have a head, only a body. This was a headless corpse that walked out of a dimensional pocket. "You have another body?" Sect leader Tong Tian was completely stunned. He instinctively glanced at the body he had sealed. It was also Gohan's body, and his Qingping sword was still stuck in it. Where did Gohan's body come from? Not good. Yinxiao, immediately destroy that head. Sect leader Tong Tian seemed to have understood something and immediately ordered Lady Yinxiao. At the same time, he covered his bleeding wound and rushed toward Gohan's head. "Here you go." Yinxiao's reaction was rather fast. As soon as sect leader Tong Tian gave the order, she threw Gohan's head to the body that suddenly appeared. Gohan's body was obviously stunned, and he immediately placed the head on his neck. The two pieces of flesh that had been separated for a long time fused together in an instant. In less than a second, the complete Gahan returned, and Guhan returned to his strongest state. Yin Xiao, you also betrayed Master. On the other hand, sect leader Tontian was so angry that his eyes were about to crack. He never expected Lady Yun Xiao to betray him at this moment. Unlike Gahan, who became a disciple halfway through his life, Lady Yun Xiao was taken in as a disciple by sect leader Tontian the moment she was born. It could be said that sect leader Tontian watched Lady Yun Xiao grow up, and she was also his favorite disciple. The reason why sect leader Tontian set up the immortal slaying sword formation along the way was mostly because Lady Yun Xiao was captured by Taishang Laojun. Sect leader Tongtian's feelings for Lady Yun Xiao were almost on the same level as Guhan's feelings for Lu Shihua. Therefore, sect leader Tontian could not understand why his favorite disciple would betray him at the last moment. I'm sorry, Master. I don't want to betray you, but I also love this world, and I don't want to see it destroyed. Lady Yun Xiao suddenly knelt in front of sect leader Tongtian and said with tears in her eyes, I'm sorry, Master. I don't have the face to appear in front of you anymore. I'm going now. After saying that, Lady Yin Xiao picked up her primordial chaos golden dipper and hit her head directly. In an instant, her head was smashed into pieces by the primordial chaos golden dipper, and blood splattered all over the ground. At the same time, the golden primordial spirit flew out of Lady Yun Xiao's head. Just as the primordial spirit was about to hit the primordial chaos golden chalice, Guhan finally reacted and shouted, Senior sister. Before the spirit was completely destroyed, he put Lady Yun Xiao's spirit and the rest of her body into his dimensional pocket. Stupid. What's so good about this world? Why don't you follow me and create a new world? Sect leader Tongtian's face looked much better when he saw Lady Yun Xiao committing suicide, but he was also disappointed at her for failing to meet his expectations. Master, what should I do? Looking at this scene, the remaining incongruence divine maiden was completely dumbfounded. She quickly hid behind the Tontian sect leader and asked him in horror, Let's go. I haven't fully recovered yet, and I'm not a match for these 4 traitors. Sect leader Tontian looked at the immortal killing sword formation and said to Goddess Wudong immediately. Yes, Master. Goddess Wudong said immediately. You want to leave? Don't even think about it. Gohan snorted coldly, and the circle formed by the 4 immortal killing swords began to close in quickly. The sword lights that filled the sky attacked sect leader Tontian. At the same time, sect leader Tontian rushed to the Qingping sword that was stuck in Guhan's body with all his might. This was sect leader Tongtian's only hope. Only with the Qingping sword, sect leader Tontian had the ability to fight against the immortal killing sword formation. Otherwise, sect leader Tontian would not even have a weapon that he could use. Although Gahan tried his best to control the immortal killing sword formation to stop sect leader Tontian, sect leader Tontian ignored his own injuries and went to the Qingping sword first. When he was about to pull out the Qingping sword happily, the sword suddenly turned around and pierced through sect leader Tongtian's heart. It pierced through sect leader Tongtian's heart and created a big hole. This scene was just like when Gahan was plotted against by the Qingping sword. Chapter 1555. Qingping. Sect leader Tongtian murmured Qingping's name, but Qingping paid no attention to him. She continued to launch fierce attacks on sect leader Tongtian. Seeing this, sect leader Tongtian could not help but burst into tears. A sense of desolation welled up in his heart. Sect leader Tontian was in a very bad state. He had just been freed from the seal, and his strength had not even recovered 1/10 of it. Now, he had come out to deal with Gahan. This was already a terrible situation. What was worse was that sect leader Tontian had been pierced through by the 4 fairy killing swords and the Qingping sword. His heart was cold, and his body was badly injured. In the end, he could only protect Goddess Wudong with one hand and watch helplessly as the 5 swords surrounded him. This time, it would not be so easy for sect leader Tontian to break out. Master's good disciple, when did you notice all of this? Sect Master Tong Tian asked Guhan curiously with a bitter smile on his face when he saw that he was in a situation where he could not escape even if he had wings. Before I answer this question, please answer a question for me, Master or Senior Sister. How did you trap Qingping's will and release his soul? Guhan looked at the Qingping sword in front of him and asked. You've discovered it. Goddess Wudong was startled by Guhan's words. She said in a trembling voice, I don't know. It seems that when Ancestor Qingping appeared in front of us, he was already Ancestor Qingping. Let me answer your question. Sect leader Tong Tian smiled bitterly and said, I had anticipated the failure of the war of deification of the gods in advance, so I set up this alternate space early. At the same time, I attached fragments of my consciousness to the treasure-snatching rocks outside to prevent my two senior brothers from forcibly opening the alternate space in the future and destroying my last disciples and disciples. I didn't expect Qingping to enter the alien space. The consciousness fragment I attached to the treasure-snatching rock's entrance immediately entered the Qingping sword's body and helped Qingping suppress the disloyal willpower. Tong Tian explained. It turned out that when Qingping and Guhan had just arrived at Fusang Island, Qingping had followed the two human girls to the treasure-snatching rock. As a result, he had entered the alien space inside the treasure-snatching rock. In order to protect the existence of this alternate space, Tong Tian placed his consciousness fragments at the entrance of the treasure-snatching rock. When the Qingping's sword entered, his consciousness fragments immediately sensed the existence of the Qingping's sword and directly entered its body. And in Qingping's sword, Qingping's consciousness had the upper hand, suppressing Qingping's consciousness. However, the difference between the two wasn't that great. Qingping had been trying to resist Qingping's suppression. With the help of Tong Tian's consciousness fragments, Qingping had suppressed Qingping in the blink of an eye. In other words, after entering the alien space, the Qingping sword was no longer Qingping's sword, but the real Qingping sword. This was also the reason why the Qingping sword had betrayed Guhan and pierced Guhan's heart. This sword was no longer the original Qingping sword. What about you, my good disciple? When did you discover that the Qingping sword had changed? Tong Tian looked at Guhan and asked curiously. From the first time I entered this alien space, Guhan glanced at the Qingping sword in front of him and said slowly, Actually, when the Qingping sword put on a show in front of me, I had already discovered that my Qingping sword was no longer the Qingping sword, but the truth of the Qingping sword. What happened next was just to help you continue the show. What? You already discovered that we were acting at that time. Upon hearing Guhan's words, the Wu-Tang goddess was extremely shocked. She had always thought that she was playing Guhan from the beginning to the end, but in the end, she was the one being played by Guhan. After the Qingping sword regained control of its body, it immediately found Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao in the alien space. At the same time, it directly revealed its identity and the Tongtian sect leader's consciousness fragments. Goddess Wudong and Lady Yunxiao immediately knelt in front of the Qingping sword, indicating that they would completely obey the Qingping sword's command. Therefore, the real ruler of the entire alien space was not Lady Yunxiao and Goddess Wudong, but the seemingly silly Qingping behind them. Although Qingping had never taken control of this sword, she had always been by Guhan's side. What Qingping could see, Qingping could also feel. Therefore, Qingping could be said to have a deep understanding of Guhan and Guhan's temperament and behavior patterns. At the same time, as the most trusted weapon of the Tongtian sect leader, Qingping also knew what the Tongtian sect leader's real purpose was. She also knew that Guhan was the biggest obstacle to the Tongtian sect leader's rise. If she could kill Guhan, there would no longer be any obstacles to the Tongtian sect leader's future plan. However, Qingping also knew that she was no longer a match for Guhan. With the 4 fairy-killing swords and shield in hand, the Qingping sword could not deal with Guhan by itself. Therefore, the Qingping sword finally decided to set a trap and lure Guhan into it. Therefore, although the Qingping sword had regained control of the body and suppressed Qingping, she still pretended to be Qingping. Because the two were originally one body and Qingping knew Qingping very well, She was able to imitate Qingpin so vividly that no one would notice anything wrong. At the same time, Qingping and Qingpin could use this body perfectly. Therefore, to a certain extent, Qingping was also Gahan's sword lady. As long as Qingping purposely hid it, Gahan would not be able to discover the changes that happened to Qingping just by the connection between the sword marks. Qingping was confident enough to hide her true changes. As for Gohan's story in the alternate dimension, be it saving humans or the fact that his senior sister and junior brother went from opposing each other to becoming friends, it was actually all an act that the incongruence Divine Mother and Lady Yun Xiao put on for Gahan. They wanted Gahan to go from being enemies to being close to his senior sister and junior brother. If it was not for the fact that she was afraid that the process would be too fast and sudden, the incongruence Divine Mother would have made Gahan her junior brother the moment she saw him. The reason why she designed such a complicated drama was because Qingping knew Gahan very well. She knew that Gahan was very suspicious. If she did not use this long process and interpretation, as well as all sorts of logical changes in the plot, she would not be able to make Gahan believe that the incongruence Divine Mother and Lady Yun Xiao sincerely wanted to be his senior sister. All in all, it was just a well-arranged drama. And all this drama was for the moment when she met sect leader Tong Tian. In fact, the day before sect leader Tong Tian appeared, sect leader Tong Tian had already secretly come to the alternate dimension and met the incongruence Divine Mother and Lady Yun Xiao to decide how to capture and kill Gahan. This was also the scene that Gahan saw yesterday. Sect leader Tong Tian gave his 8 trigrams immortal robe to the incongruence Divine Mother and coaxed Gahan to put it on. In this way, he put a pair of tight handcuffs on Gahan's hands. Naturally, sect leader Tong Tian and the others would be able to win. It had to be said that this was a very good trap. If the person who fell into this trap was not Gahan, he would probably have fallen into the trap and could not get out. However, the incongruence Divine Mother was not facing anyone but Gahan. Therefore, this plan was immediately discovered by Gahan. In fact, when Gahan saw Qingpin for the first time, he felt that something was wrong. Although Gahan could not tell what was wrong, he just felt that this Qingpin was not the real Qingpin, even though Qingping's acting was so realistic. Later on, Gahan remembered that this chubby Qingpin's mouth had become extremely picky after being fed by him. No matter how good the pork was, Qingpin would never eat it without careful cooking. However, the first thing Gahan saw when he saw the pork was that the pork was happily eating the longevity fruit in his hands, which were the chubby little bugs. These bugs were simply roasted on the fire, and the pork did not mind eating them into his stomach. He even looked like he was wolfing them down. In order to confirm this, Gahan had secretly gotten a longevity fruit, and after thinking about it in the way of a monster, he took a bite. He found that other than the light taste, there were almost no obvious characteristics, and there was even a faint sour taste in it. Gahan understood Qingpin. This was definitely not Qingpin's taste, and Qingpin would definitely not eat this thing. Qingpin's act of wolfing down food was originally to show off his foodie attribute, but he did not expect it to expose his problem in the end. Just based on this, can you confirm that Qingping is not your sword maiden? Aren't you being a little too hasty? After Gahan finished explaining the matter, the goddess of Wudong said with a wry smile, "That's not entirely true, so I tested Qingping once as well." At this point, Gahan pointed to his chest. Only then did the Grand Master of Heaven and the goddess of Wudong realize that there was a small cloth bag hanging on Gahan's chest. "What is this?" the goddess of Wudong asked curiously. "This is called a nurturing pouch," Gahan said indifferently. "If she really is Qingpin, as long as she sees this bag, she will impatiently crawl in. The real Qingpin has always been close to my heart. As for that Qingping, I don't know if she didn't see this bag, or if she instinctively hated it and wanted to stay with me. In the end, she chose to ignore this nurturing pouch, and I was finally sure that she wasn't my Qingpin." Chapter 1556. I didn't expect that Tong Tian, will be defeated by a nurturing pouch. After listening to Gahan's explanation, Tong Tian looked up at the sky and sighed. I've already expected that you would be my biggest obstacle after 1,000 years. Therefore, before I was sealed, I threw Qingping out. At the same time, I told her to lurk around you as soon as you appeared. At that time, she could coordinate with me and help me kill you, my evil disciple. I didn't expect that Qingping would be the cause of my success and failure. I still lost to Qingping in the end, and I actually gave it to you personally. Tong Tian sighed. It turned out that the reason why Qingping appeared beside Gahan was actually arranged by Tong Tian in advance. He originally thought that Qingping's sword could become his trump card in the end, but he didn't expect that this trump card would pierce through his heart instead. It was sect leader Tong Tian himself who gave his most precious sword to Guhan. Only sect leader Tong Tian himself knew how helpless sect leader Tong Tian's words were. Then how did you gain control of Qingping? If I'm not wrong, it's still my Qingping who is controlling Qingping's sword now. Tong Tian looked at Qingping's sword in front of him and said gloomily, Nothing, it's just a mandatory order. Gahan said lightly, Master, since you know the sword bearer so well, you should know that as long as the sword mark is still in my body, as long as I give a mandatory order to the sword mark, the sword lady must act according to my will, no matter what her will is. Mandatory order? I actually forgot about this. Hearing what Gahan said, Tong Tian's face suddenly changed. It seemed that he really forgot about this variable. Actually, you can't blame me. It's not that you forgot about this design, but that your Qingping forgot about this setting. Gahan looked at Qingping sword lovingly. I treat Qingping sincerely, and I'm never willing to give any order that goes against Qingping's own will. In the 20 years that I've been with Qingping, I've never given any mandatory order to Qingping, so your Qingping probably forgot about this. Otherwise, she would definitely ask Master to trap her in the dimensional space instead of directly stabbing the sword into that corpse. I see. Tong Tian smiled bitterly. At the same time, his eyes fell on the headless corpse, and he asked curiously, This corpse shouldn't be yours, right? Whose corpse is it? It's a person named Wuzhang Shifeng. Master, have you ever heard of this name? Gohan asked Tong Tian with a sigh. Wuzhang Shifeng? Tong Tian was stunned for a moment, and then he shook his head. He's just a nobody. How can I recognize him? But such a nobody became the key to killing you, Master. Gahan let out a long sigh and could not help but recall what happened more than 20 days ago. No one knew that on the night they arrived in Yamato City, Gahan did not stay in his room. Instead, he had been sitting in Wuzhang Shifeng's room and chatting with Wuzhang Shifeng for a whole night. He had already understood the change of the poor sword and decided to beat him at his own game. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Just like what happened today, he suddenly appeared from an impossible place and caught sect leader Tong Tian off guard. But where exactly did he come from? How could he catch a powerhouse like sect leader Tong Tian by surprise? In the end, Gohan fixed his eyes on his dimensional pocket. Because living people could not survive in the dimensional pocket, Gohan believed that once he suddenly came out of the dimensional pocket, Tong Tian would not be able to detect it, let alone guard against it. However, in order to achieve this goal, Gohan had to hide in the dimensional pocket in advance, and outside the dimensional pocket, there had to be someone who could cooperate with him to make sect leader Tong Tian believe that the person outside was the real him. Therefore, Gohan went to Wu Zhangshifeng. This time, Gohan did not hide anything. He told Wu Zhangshifeng everything about sect leader Tong Tian, including all his plans. Finally, he asked Wu Zhangshifeng to decide whether he wanted to help Gohan at the risk of losing his life. In fact, Gohan's decision itself was also taking a huge risk. After all, Wuzhang Shifeng was a traitor who betrayed mankind. If Wuzhang Shifeng revealed all this to the people of that organization, Gohan's plan would fall short of success. In the end, Wuzhang Shifeng did not let Gohan down. After a long hesitation, Wuzhang Shifeng finally nodded and agreed to Gohan's request, allowing Gohan to cut off his head. What happened next was easy. At the edge of Fusang Island, Lun Yinling had already waited there in advance according to Gohan's arrangement to bring back all the humans and sword bearers from Yamato City. However, In order to fool others, Liu Ling directly changed into Song Yifei's appearance under Song Yifei's manipulation. In this way, outsiders and spies would think that Song Yifei was returning to Yanjing City with these humans. Anyway, Liu Ling had always been elusive. Occasionally disappearing for a day would not arouse others' suspicion. Song Yifei and Gahan returned to Yamato City together. Song Yifei changed into Wuzhong Shifang's appearance and continued to stay in Yamato City. Except for issuing some basic orders, he had been staying in his room. Occasionally, he would show up to show his existence. Because a large number of sword-bearers had left Yamato City, Wuzhong Shifang's passive behavior seemed very normal. There was no doubt that it was because his dream had suffered a huge blow and he needed time to recover. In fact, no one knew that the real Wuzhong Shifang's body and head had already been separated. The head was kept in a medical cabin, while the body was kept in a dimensional pocket. When Incongruence Goddess forced Gahan to change his clothes, Gahan had already keenly sensed that the enemy was about to make a move. At the same time, it was also the most critical moment of Gahan's plan. Gahan used the excuse that he needed to take off his clothes as an excuse to send Incongruence Goddess away. Then he cut off his head at lightning speed and threw his body into his dimensional pocket. At the same time, he fused Wuzhong Shifang's body and his head together. This seemingly inconceivable and frightening operation was actually a very simple task in Gahan's hands. He only needed to use his consciousness fragments to control the nanomachines to stitch the head and the body together. For Gahan, the real problem was how to control Wuzhong Shifang's body to fight. The reason Gahan wanted to use Wuzhong Shifang's body was for the sword marks and sword essences in Wuzhong Shifang's body. If that was not the case, Gahan could use an ordinary person's corpse. However, this corpse could not simulate the strength that an Emperor swordbearer should have. Moreover, there would be no sword marks in the body. This would not deceive the Grand Master of Heaven. Therefore, Gahan had to use the body of an immortal swordbearer. However, there was another problem. Although this body was controlled by Gahan, the sword marks and sword essences in the body could not be used by Gahan. This was because Wuzhong Shifang's sword marks were connected to Wuzhong Shifang's soul. This was something that Gahan could not imitate. In the end, Wuzhong Shifang could only make a greater sacrifice. He took a risk and let Gahan take out his brain. Then, Gahan placed it in his abdominal cavity. At the same time, he connected the eye nerves in Gahan's head. In this way, Wuzhong Shifang could fight the Grand Master of Heaven with Gahan's head on his neck. The inspiration for this idea came from the story of the Xingtian Grand Wizard in the Sage Relic. Without a head, he used his belly as his head to fight the Celestial Emperor. It happened to be used by Gahan in this matter. However, in this way, Wuzhong Shifang would have to take a great risk. According to Gahan's speculation, as long as the Grand Master of Heaven still wanted to get the 4 immortal slaying swords, he would not kill him directly. He would definitely keep him alive. However, the Grand Master of Heaven might only keep his head and destroy his body to completely destroy the possibility of Gahan's counterattack. In this case, the brain and the body's belly would be in a fatal danger. Although Gahan had left a part of Wuzhong Shifang's brain and soul in the dimensional pocket in advance, just like when he repaired Lu Shihua, Gahan could create a new body for Wuzhong Shifang. However, the destruction of a large number of souls was a fatal thing for the old Wuzhong Shifang. Even if he was repaired later, it would be impossible for him to return to his previous state. He would become even older. More importantly, he would completely lose his sword marks and sword essences and become an ordinary person from then on. The reason why Lu Shihua could be resurrected to his complete state was that Mingyuan Jindi secretly protected Lu Shihua's most important purple mansion. However, at that time, Gahan would not be able to protect Wuzhong Shifang's purple mansion. In the end, Wuzhong Shifang agreed to Gahan's request without hesitation. There was the most incredible deceptive trick in history. The head and body that were split into two by the Grand Master of Heaven actually belonged to 2 different sword bearers, while the real body had been staying in the dimensional pocket. What happened next was needless to say. Gohan tricked the Grand Master of Heaven into letting him open the dimensional pocket. Then, under the control of the fragments of consciousness and soul that Gohan deliberately left in his body directly came out with the 4 immortal slaying swords and launched the most fatal blow to the Grand Master of Heaven, who was caught off guard and completely unprepared. It was precisely because of this shocking blow that the history of the entire world changed at this moment. Chapter 1557. Good plan, good plan. Disciple, you're really amazing. You've even schemed against me. You're really worthy of being my disciple. After listening to Gohan's explanation, sect leader Tantian let out a long sigh and said, "Come on, let's do it. Let's see how capable my disciple is and whether he can really kill his master." "Yes, master." Gohan nodded. The 4 immortal killing swords and the Qing Pin sword, which were originally floating beside him, moved again. Under Gohan's control, the 4 immortal killing swords did not attack, but suppressed the 4 directions to prevent sect leader Tantian from escaping the immortal killing sword formation. It was the 4 immortal killing swords that were responsible for the attack. Under the control of Gohan, countless surging sword chis gushed out of the 4 immortal killing swords. At this time, there was no need for any mysterious swordsmanship. There were so many sword chis that sect leader Tantian had no chance to dodge. He could only fight against these dense sword chis head-on. Of course, sect leader Tantian did not care about ordinary sword chi. Those sword chi could not even hurt a hair of sect leader Tantian. However, these sword chi came from the 4 immortal killing swords. The 4 immortal killing swords were the strongest killing method in the world and the embodiment of the killing intent of the Great Way. The murderous intent and sharpness in the sword chi were something that even sect leader Tantian could not completely defend against. The main reason why sect leader Tantian was sealed by other sages was that the 4 immortal killing swords were on the side of the sages. In the face of the extremely terrifying murderous intent of the 4 immortal killing swords, sect leader Tantian had no way to deal with it. 1,000 years ago, sect leader Tantian was already in such a state. 1,000 years later, sect leader Tantian, who had been seriously injured, naturally had no better means to deal with it. He could only choose to fight it head-on. Soon, sect leader Tantian was covered in wounds and blood from head to toe. Fortunately, Gohan, the controller of the immortal killing world, was not a sage. Otherwise, if Gohan had reached the level of a sage and mastered the power of the Way of Heaven, sect leader Tantian would have died as long as he injected this power into the sword chi of the 4 immortal killing swords. Although the Tantian sect leader could still resist the attacks of the immortal slaying sword formation, the incongruence Divine Mother was almost at her limit. Although Gohan did not care about the incongruence Divine Mother at all, nor did he plan to waste his sword chi on her, the incongruence Divine Mother was still affected by a few strands of sword chi, and it was only those strands of sword chi that severed an arm and a leg of the incongruence Divine Mother. There was also a huge gash on her stomach. Black demon chi seeped out of the wound, and the incongruence Divine Mother seemed to have aged tremendously in an instant. This is too terrifying. Little junior brother is actually this terrifying when he's fighting with all his might. He was really putting on a show when he said he was in the alternate space. Looking at the terrifying wound on her body, the incongruence Divine Mother recalled how she was evenly matched with Gohan in the alternate space and immediately felt ashamed. She had always thought that the difference between her and Gohan was not that great, and that her master did not need to set so many traps to deal with Gohan. The reason why the incongruence Divine Mother cooperated with the Qingping Sword's plan and put on a show was entirely because of the Qingping Sword suppression. Therefore, the incongruence Divine Mother's resistance and disdain toward Gohan was particularly real when she was acting, because that was what she really thought. It was only now that the incongruence Divine Mother realized how wrong she was. She could not even withstand 3 strands of sword chi from Gohan, and yet she laughably thought that she could be evenly matched with Gahan. But ninth junior brother's strength is already close to the level of sage. No, with his current state, I'm afraid that even the weakest sage, goddess Nuwa, is no match for him. The incongruence Divine Mother thought to herself. Back in the myriad immortal formation, she had tried to challenge goddess Nuwa, who was the weakest, to see the gap between her and a sage. In the end, the incongruence Divine Mother was defeated by goddess Nuwa in just 5 moves. At that time, the huge gap made the incongruence Divine Mother feel disheartened. She lamented that the gap between a sage and a sage was like heaven and earth. But now, with just 3 strands of sword chi, she was already on the verge of death. The incongruence Divine Mother could not help but lament that Guhan's strength might have already reached the level of goddess Nuwa in the past. Just as the incongruence Divine Mother was thinking about this, her pupils suddenly contracted. A strand of sword chi came at her with great force. It was so fast that she did not even have time to react. She could only watch as the sword chi slashed at her other arm, crippling both of her arms. "Master, save me!" The incongruence Divine Mother was completely flustered. If another strand of sword chi came at her now, she would probably die. Therefore, the incongruence Divine Mother could no longer care about anything else. She could only frantically seek help from the Grandmaster of Tongtian. "Disciple, wait there for me to save you." Seeing that the incongruence Divine Mother was severely injured, the Grandmaster of Tongtian looked anxious. Without saying a word, he began to rush toward the incongruence Divine Mother. In order to reach the incongruence Divine Mother as soon as possible, the Grandmaster of Tongtian did not even care about dodging along the way. After taking a dozen strands of fairy-slaying sword chi head-on, he rescued the incongruence Divine Mother to his side. After grabbing the incongruence Divine Mother, the Grandmaster of Tongtian immediately said to her, "Hurry up and change back to your original form. Otherwise, even I won't be able to protect you." "Yes, Master." The incongruence Divine Mother did not hesitate at all. After hearing the Grandmaster of Tongtian's order, her body immediately turned into a puff of smoke. When the smoke dissipated, the incongruence Divine Mother's body was already gone. In its place was a small mountain hovering next to the Grandmaster of Tongtian's hand. The incongruence Divine Mother's original form was the legendary Black Mountain. It was the first mountain formed naturally after Pangu split the world apart. Later on, it absorbed the spirit chi of the world and turned into a human form, which was how the incongruence Divine Mother came to be. "Good disciple, I'll definitely save you." The Grandmaster of Tongtian stuffed the Black Mountain that the incongruence Divine Mother had turned into his clothes. He then continued to fight the fairy-slaying sword formation. The battle lasted for more than 10 minutes. Although the fairy-slaying sword formation was unparalleled in power, it was naturally impossible to destroy the Grandmaster of Tongtian, who was a sage, in a short period of time. Even the few sages back then could not do it. In the end, the sages could only sacrifice themselves to seal the Grandmaster of Tongtian. "Gahan, you're here. That's great. I've finally found you." Song Yifei's excited voice was heard when Gahan was trying his best to kill the Grandmaster of Tongtian. "Why are you here?" Gahan asked when he saw Song Yifei. "When I saw all the monsters in the alternate space running out, I knew that the plan had begun. I've secretly followed those monsters to the Grandmaster of Tongtian's lair according to your plan. When I was about to save my master, I heard those monsters say that you're already dead. So I... Song Yifei's voice sounded like she was about to cry. "You silly girl, I won't die so easily." Gahan sighed. Song Yifei's master was already in front of him, but after hearing the news, she left her master behind and came to find him. Although this friendship touched Gahan very much, if Mingyuan Jinni knew about it, he might even want to kill Gahan. "Forget it. It's a good thing that you're here. I have no time to worry about the situation in Yanjing City now. I'll have to trouble you to go to the outskirts of Yanjing City and tell me how the war situation there is." Gahan immediately said to Song Yifei. In fact, Gahan's eyes were still paying attention to the situation in Yinjing City from time to time. However, Gahan was now hundreds of kilometers away from Yinjing City. Gahan could barely see that humans in Yuankou were still in a stalemate in the core area of Yinjing City. He knew nothing about the specific situation, so he could only ask Song Yifei to go and check it out. Okay, be careful. Song Yifei nodded and went immediately. About 10 minutes later, she hurriedly ran back. When she was about to say something, she saw that Gahan was sweating profusely while controlling the immortal killing sword formation and the Grandmaster of Tongtian. She hesitated for a moment and said, "The situation is good. Lu Shihua and Liu Yanling are in a stalemate with Yuan Ko. It should be no problem for them to hold on for another 1 or 2 hours. Tell me the truth." Seeing Song Yifei's little hesitation, how could Gahan not know what she was thinking? She was afraid that the bad news would distract him in the battle with the Grandmaster of Tongtian, so she deliberately hid the truth. Song Yifei was still hesitating whether to tell the truth to Gahan. The extinction of all human beings is at this moment. You must tell me the truth. Otherwise, even if I defeat the Grandmaster of Tongtian, the human beings will be extinct. What's the point of this for me? Guhan shouted to Song Yifei. Hearing this, Song Yifei's eyes became hot, and hot tears flowed down his cheeks. In the end, he said, "The situation is very bad. Lu Shihua is about to die. The number of run-level bandits attacking Miss Lin Lin has increased to 5. More than half of the human sword-bearers are dead or wounded. The city wall is covered in blood, and broken swords are everywhere. I estimate that in 20 minutes at most, I'm afraid the entire core area's defense line will..." "Okay, there's no need to say more. I already know." Gohan rudely interrupted Song Yifei's words. He took a deep look at the Grandmaster of Tongtian, who was surrounded by the immortal killing sword formation. Finally, he took a step forward and walked directly into the immortal killing sword formation. At the same time, he grabbed the wandering Qing Pin sword. "Master, let me deal with you personally," Gahan shouted. "Okay, let me see what my disciple is capable of." Grandmaster of Tongtian also shouted. Although he was seriously injured at this time, he was still heroic. Chapter 1558. 9 Swords of Xiantian, Sword Dipper. As soon as Gahan attacked, he directly used the killing move of the 9 Swords of Xiantian. Song Yifei, who was watching from the side, did not even see what happened. In the next second, Gohan suddenly appeared beside sect leader Tongtian and stabbed the Qingpin sword into sect leader Tongtian's heart again. 9 Swords of Xiantian. When he saw Guhan using the 9 Swords of Mysterious Heaven, sect leader Tongtian's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. He used his hands to grab the impoverished sword in Guhan's hands with his bare hands. Sword break. Seeing that the Qingpin sword was grabbed by sect leader Tongtian, Gohan's eyes flashed, and he used another skill of the 9 Swords of Xiantian. The Qingpin sword suddenly burst out with a sword sound. Sect leader Tongtian's face instantly changed and revealed a miserable expression. At the same time, he involuntarily let go of his hands. But before he let go, he pushed forward and finally pushed Gahan's body away. 9 Swords of Xiantian. This is my eldest senior brother's swordsmanship. Why do you know my eldest senior brother's swordsmanship? After pushing Gahan away, sect leader Tongtian did not care about his bloody right hand at all. Instead, he directly asked such a question to Gahan. "Please forgive me, Master. Disciple forgot to tell Master. Disciple doesn't only have you as a master. Old Lord Taishang is also Disciple's master, and he took Disciple as a disciple decades before Master." Guhan honestly replied, "Well, eldest senior brother is indeed my eldest senior brother. I always thought that I was the only one who buried a chess piece around you. I didn't expect that eldest senior brother also had a chess piece." Sect leader Tongtian sighed and immediately showed a disdainful expression. "But my good disciple, my eldest senior brother is good at Zen and Taoism, but when it comes to swordsmanship, he is not even as good as a 3-year-old child." The swordsmanship he created is really not pleasing to the eye. It is not at the same level as my swordsmanship at all. Today, I'll teach you the orthodox sect of Jieskul. As soon as sect leader Tongtian's voice faded, his bloody right hand suddenly reached into his bosom and pulled out a pale, bone-like long sword. 9 Deaths' lifeless sword. Seeing this long sword, Song Yifei was the first to let out a scream because he was too familiar with this sword. So, this sword is called the 9 Deaths' lifeless sword. I've never heard of this name before. It really isn't a good sword. Sect leader Tongtian naturally heard Song Yifei's words. He looked at the 9 Deaths' lifeless sword in his hand with an extremely disdainful expression and said, "If it were not for the fact that I couldn't find a good sword, this piece of trash would not be worthy of my use. Alas, it's a pity that I don't have the Qingping sword, so I can only reluctantly use this piece of trash." Sect leader Tongtian sighed, as if using the 9 Deaths' lifeless sword was a disgrace to his identity. Although the 9 Deaths' lifeless sword was not famous in untainted land, it was still an emperor's sword lady. It was really pitiful that it was belittled by sect leader Tongtian. "Don't insult my master's sword." Hearing sect leader Tongtian's insult, Song Yifei immediately shouted angrily. Then, he thought of something and hurriedly asked, "Bastard, where did you take my master? Where's my master?" "Your master?" Sect leader Tongtian said with a thoughtful expression. "Is she the human sword holder who was possessed by the fragment of my consciousness when I found my primordial spirit?" "That's her." "What did you do to my master?" Song Yifei asked excitedly. "Originally, I planned to spare her life for the sake of her guarding my primordial spirit for hundreds of years. However, she's really too insensible. She actually dared to attack me, and even boldly left a scar on my body. How can I keep such a rebellious junior? But little girl, you can rest assured that junior did not suffer too much before her death. I just extracted the fragment of her consciousness from her body, and she died because of the exhaustion of her lifespan. She died very peacefully, which could be considered a good end." Sect leader Tongtian said kindly, "You bastard! You killed my master. I'm going to kill you." Song Yifei suddenly fell into a state of madness when she heard the news of Ming Yuan, Jindi's death. Without saying anything, she picked up the sword lady in her hand and was ready to fight with sect leader Tongtian in the immortal killing sword formation. Get the hell back. Guhan would let Song Yifei enter this dangerous battlefield. He controlled the 2 immortal slaying sword chi to strike Song Yifei's body and send him flying. At the same time, he said to Song Yifei, "Yifei, calm down. Senior Ming Yuan's lifelong wish was to die as a normal human. Her greatest wish has been fulfilled. Don't be so impulsive." Although what Gahan said was the hard truth, how could Song Yifei listen to it at this time? After being sent flying by Gahan's immortal killing sword chi, she still wanted to rush into the immortal killing sword formation. In desperation, Guhan directly knocked Song Yifei out with the immortal killing sword chi, and then threw her into the void to prevent her from spoiling his plan. What a good child who respects her master. She's much better than your unfilial disciple, sect leader Tongtian said with admiration when he saw Song Yifei trying her best to avenge her master. "Cut the crap. Give me your life." Gohan snorted coldly and once again charged towards sect leader Tongtian with his sword. "Forget it. I'll let you see the orthodox Jieskul's trump card. It's the sword technique that killed Master Hongjun back then." With the 9 Deaths sword in hand, sect leader Tongtian's temperament changed instantly. His bloody body suddenly began to move, and a strong murderous aura enveloped him. This murderous aura was so strong that it was not inferior to the 4 immortal killing swords of the Supreme Master of the Killing Path. "This is..." Seeing sect leader Tongtian's state, Gohan's right eyelid twitched involuntarily. Gohan found sect leader Tongtian's state very familiar. Green lotus thorn, pick, drill. Then, sect leader Tongtian used a set of orthodox techniques of the Jieskul that he mentioned. It seemed to be some very simple moves, such as simple stabbing, simple picking, and simple drilling. It was completely for beginners to learn, and it was the basic moves of the sword Tao. Such simple moves seemed to be extremely mysterious in sect leader Tongtian's hands. Even though Gahan's swordsmanship had reached the peak, he still felt very tired when facing sect leader Tongtian's basic swordsmanship. No matter how exquisite Gahan's swordsmanship was to fight back, sect leader Tongtian would dodge all of them. In the end, sect leader Tongtian would attack Guhan's body, making Guhan's body bleed. This was the first time that Gahan was injured since he suddenly came out of the dimensional pocket. What kind of swordsmanship is this? After suffering 3 consecutive strikes from sect leader Tongtian, Gahan had to take the initiative to distance himself from sect leader Tongtian. At the same time, he mobilized countless immortal-killing sword chi to launch a tide-like attack at sect leader Tongtian. He also forcibly interrupted sect leader Tongtian's attack so that he could be in a safe position and have a chance to ask sect leader Tongtian. What? You want to learn? Let me teach you. Sect leader Tongtian said to Gahan kindly, "Good disciple, come here. I will teach you this swordsmanship step by step." "No need." Gahan curled his lips and said, "Master, may I ask if this swordsmanship of yours is 3 green lotus swords?" "How do you know?" Sect leader Tongtian was stunned. He was really stunned, because while he was stunned, more than 10 immortal-killing sword chi pierced into his body without any hindrance, leaving more than 10 wounds on his body. At the same time, sect leader Tongtian woke up from his stupor. The reason why sect leader Tongtian was in a daze was because this sword art was truly his most powerful sword art. Even his 8 inner disciples had never seen it before, let alone learning it. Ever since sect leader Tongtian researched this swordsmanship, it had been deeply hidden by him. Sect leader Tongtian was confident that even the other 6 sages did not know that he had a trump card called 3 green lotus swords. However, how on earth did Gahan know the name of such a swordsmanship that had been kept secret? Sect leader Tongtian could not help but ask Gahan again, "How on earth do you know the name of 3 green lotus swords? Tell me." "Haha, I not only know the name of 3 green lotus swords, I also know how to use it." Gahan smiled coldly. Then his body began to move up and down, just like sect leader Tongtian's. An extremely strong, killing intent surrounded Gahan's entire body. "How could you? Sect leader Tongtian was completely dumbfounded. He had never taught the 3 green lotus swords to anyone, so how could it be used by his greatest opponent? Even though this greatest opponent was also his disciple. Could it be her? A person's figure suddenly flashed in sect leader Tongtian's mind. However, he did not have much time to think, because Gahan's next attack was like a surging tide. The reason why the Green Lotus 3 swords was so powerful was not because of the sword skill itself. In fact, the Green Lotus 3 swords itself did not contain any sword skills. The true strength of the Green Lotus 3 swords lay in the strengthening of the body, will, and soul. This was the true strength of the Green Lotus 3 swords. In the face of such a powerful blessing, any fancy sword skills were actually meaningless. Only the most basic sword movements could bring out the strongest effect. This was also the reason why sect leader Tongtian only used the basic sword skills. Previously, when Gahan used it, there were countless side effects. He even had to have intercourse before he could use the 3rd move of 3 green lotus swords. That was because this was a sword skill developed by sages for sages to use. For sages who had cut off the 3 separations and only had their true self, all kinds of side effects could not affect their true self. If Gahan wanted to use 3 green lotus swords before he became a sage, he would inevitably suffer from this problem. In fact, even though he had become an Emperor Sword level sword wielder, Gahan was still suffering from the side effects of 3 green lotus swords. "I have to finish this battle as soon as possible," Gahan said to himself again. Then, he fully activated the 3 swords of Green Lotus and clashed with sect leader Tongtian again. This time, sect leader Tongtian could no longer use the 3 swords of Green Lotus to gain the upper hand. Both of them could only rely on the simplest and most basic sword skills to fight. In this way, The two of them were evenly matched in terms of sword skills. Good disciple, although I don't know where you learned 3 green lotus swords, it doesn't matter. I can still play with you for a few more days. But your human clansmen don't have much time left. If you don't help them, I'm afraid they will all die. Sect leader Tontian said with a sneer as he clashed with Gohan's sword light. Sect leader Tontian's purpose was very simple. He wanted to distract Gohan and force Gohan to rush to Yinjing City to help human beings. Then, he could escape from the suppression of the fairy killing sword formation and escape. I will save them, but before that, I will definitely kill you first, Gohan said with a fierce look in his eyes. At the same time, he stopped the basic sword skills in his hands. After distancing himself from sect leader Tongtian again, he said lightly, "The 9 swords of mysterious heaven is my master sword skill, and the 3 green lotus swords is also my master sword skill. Next, master, please experience the sword skill created by your disciple, which completely belongs to your disciple." When Gohan said this, Qingpin's sword could not help but emit a chaotic 5-colored light. Chapter 1559. Where did you learn this swordsmanship? With several bloody wounds on his body, sect leader Tongtian looked at Gohan in shock. At the same time, he asked Gohan in a voice that was squeezed out of his teeth, "Didn't I say that this is a swordsmanship I created myself?" Gohan said lightly, "Nonsense. This swordsmanship is so profound that it has even merged with the Great Way. How could it be created by a mere human like you?" Sect leader Tongtian gritted his teeth and said, "By the way, this must be my master's swordsmanship. My master created this swordsmanship and passed it to you later, right?" The master that sect leader Tongtian mentioned was, of course, ancestor Hongjun's. Sect leader Tongtian's words also indicated that sect leader Tongtian couldn't create such a swordsmanship by himself. He could only use it on ancestor Hongjun, who was much more powerful than him, to convince sect leader Tongtian. "I created this swordsmanship myself. As for whether you believe it or not, I don't care." A cold light flashed in Gohan's eyes. Then he said, "I just showed you the first 5 moves of the Chaos Swordsmanship. There are a total of 7 moves in the Chaos Swordsmanship. Master, please try the 6th move." Even though sect leader Tongtian had cultivated for tens of millions of years, he could not help but feel frightened after hearing Gohan's words. Sect leader Tongtian could not bear the first 5 moves. He did not know whether he could handle it at all. But at this moment, sect leader Tongtian had no choice but to deal with it. He pulled himself together and used all his skills to the highest realm. He stared at the sword in Gohan's hand and was ready to receive Gohan's 6th move. However, in the next second, the Qingping sword, which had been in Tongtian's sight just now, suddenly disappeared from his sight. Tongtian entered a state of extreme vigilance. He wrapped himself with fragments of his consciousness and waited vigilantly for the Qingping sword, which might appear at any time. In the end, sect leader Tongtian waited for more than 10 seconds, but the sword did not disappear until the Qingping sword returned to Gohan's hand again. What's going on? Sect leader Tongtian was puzzled. The Qingping sword disappeared from Gohan's hand inexplicably and returned to Gohan's hand inexplicably for more than 10 seconds. Sect leader Tongtian could not believe it. Moreover, Gohan had just said that this was the 6th move of the Chaos Swordsmanship. With the first 5 moves as the foundation, sect leader Tongtian thought that the 6th move must be an extremely powerful swordsmanship. Unexpectedly, the whole process was so simple. "What are you playing? Are you making fun of me?" Sect leader Tongtian suddenly felt annoyed. Gohan was clearly making fun of him. He did not use the 6th move at all. He simply made the Qingping sword disappear to make fun of him. The Tongtian sect leader could not tolerate such a playful attitude. "Master, you're too serious. I wouldn't dare to make fun of you even if I was 100 times more courageous." Gohan looked at the Qingping sword in his hand and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Master. That sword will arrive soon." What the hell is this? When sect leader Tongtian was still thinking about the meaning of this sentence, His body could not help but lean forward. His intact abdomen was torn open, and endless golden blood gushed out of the wound. Sect leader Tontian was in a trance and directly knelt in the air. Sure enough, it will arrive soon. A wry smile flashed across sect leader Tontian's face. He no longer had to think about what Gu Han meant when she said she would be here soon, because the sword had already arrived. It crossed the distance of time and space and directly pierced through his abdomen. Your sword actually crossed the distance between time and space. Oh my God, is there such a swordsmanship in the world? Sect leader Tong Tian murmured in disbelief. Gahan was right. Gahan had indeed stabbed the sixth move just now. However, the sword did not immediately stab sect leader Tong Tian. Instead, it crossed the distance between time and space and finally fell on sect leader Tong Tian more than 10 seconds later. This was also the reason why nothing happened when sect leader Tong Tian saw Qing Bin's sword disappear and return. This was because the sword finally fell on him more than 10 seconds later. This caught sect leader Tong Tian off guard, and he took this fatal sword head-on. Crossing time and space was not a rare ability. Many Yuan Ko had this ability. In fact, if sect leader Tong Tian wanted to, he could also let some people cross time and space to go to the past or the future. This was not impossible. However, it was different from the usual situation where the stronger one was, the easier it was to do it. The stronger one was, the harder it was to travel through time and space. With sect leader Tong Tian's ability, it was very easy for him to send an ordinary human to the past or the future. However, if he wanted to send himself to the past or the future, it was impossible, because to the entire world, traveling through time and space was something that broke the rules of the world. The world would instinctively resist such a thing from happening. If someone or something was forcefully sent to the past or the future, they would have to bear the backlash of the world. The strength of this backlash was determined by the strength of the person who traveled through time and space. The stronger a traveler was, the greater the counterforce of the world would be. If someone like sect leader Tong Tian wanted to travel through time and space, he would have to bear the counterforce of the entire Great Way. If sect leader Tong Tian could bear such a counterforce, he would be equivalent to an existence that had surpassed the Great Way. If the entire world was under his control, why would he need to travel through time and space? At this time, Gohan's strength was similar to that of sect leader Tong Tian. In sect leader Tong Tian's opinion, when Gohan crossed to the untainted world when he was an immortal sword, it was already the limit that the world could bear. Now that Gohan had reached the Emperor's sword level, it was absolutely impossible for him to cross time and space, not even for a minute or a second. How did Gohan's sword attack land on him after more than 10 seconds? Sect leader Tong Tian looked deeply at Gohan. Although he did not ask this question, his eyes were full of doubt. People can't cross time and space, but Sword Principle can. Sword Principle is the same as Great Tao. It exists eternally in all time and space. Facing sect leader Tong Tian's doubt, Gohan answered very calmly, as if he was talking about something as simple as eating and drinking. It seems that your cultivation in Sword Principle has really surpassed me. Sect leader Tong Tian trembled violently when he heard Gohan's words. Then, he quickly calmed down and looked at Gohan calmly. Thank you for your praise, Master. In that case, please show me the last move of Chaos Sword Principle. Gohan shook the Qingpin sword in his hand again. You actually have a last move. Sect leader Tong Tian was stunned. This sword that crossed time and space was already the limit of Sword Principle that sect leader Tong Tian could imagine. At this moment, if sect leader Tong Tian was asked to imagine the last sword strike of a higher realm, he really could not guess what was contained in the last sword strike, given his profound knowledge and amazing realm. However, there was one thing that sect leader Tong Tian was sure of. Once Gohan used this sword, it was very likely that he would die here. Good disciple, you're very good. However, I'm a little unwell now. Let me have a taste of this sword in the future. Sect leader Tong Tian said. Obviously, sect leader Tong Tian had made up his mind to escape from here. He did not want to fight with Gahan anymore. However, he was still firmly sealed by the immortal killing sword formation. How could sect leader Tong Tian escape? Master, you'd better not waste your time. You know the power of the immortal killing sword formation as well as I do. It's impossible for you to escape from it. Gahan said very confidently. Haha, the immortal killing sword formation is indeed powerful, but it depends on who is using it. If I control the immortal killing sword formation in my peak state, I don't think I can escape from it. However, if it's just you, a kid who hasn't become a sage, there's still a chance as long as you're willing to sacrifice yourself. Sect leader Tong Tian said lightly. Oh no. Hearing sect leader Tong Tian's words, Gahan's expression changed instantly. He no longer wanted to act tough. Once again, he attacked sect leader Tong Tian with the Qingbin sword in his hand. However, this time, sect leader Tong Tian did not plan to resist at all. Instead, he took out a small mountain from his sleeve. It was the original form of the mountain that Goddess Wudong had transformed into. Master, have you defeated that evil disciple? When Goddess Wudong found out that she was taken out by sect leader Tong Tian again, she thought that sect leader Tong Tian had already killed Gahan and took her out. However, when Goddess Wudong opened her eyes, she found that she was still in the immortal killing sword formation. Sect leader Tong Tian was seriously injured, but Gahan seemed to be intact. She was a little confused and did not know why sect leader Tong Tian took her out at this time. Good disciple, this is a fake world after all. There's no need for you to stay in this world. Before Goddess Wudong could understand the meaning of sect leader Tong Tian's words, she felt a huge force being injected into her body out of thin air. If it was in normal times, Goddess Wudong would be ecstatic when a large amount of force was injected in her body because it meant that her strength would increase greatly. However, once the power surpassed the limits of what the goddess of incongruence could endure, it was like pouring a raging river into a small stream. The goddess of incongruence was destined to meet a tragic end. Even at the moment of her death, she did not know what had happened. She was blasted apart by the violent power, including her origin soul. All traces of her existence exploded at that moment. The power of a flood-level Yuan Ko's self-explosion caused by a massive amount of external force was extremely terrifying. Even the immortal killing sword formation began to shake violently under such a terrifying self-explosion. In the end, a gap was torn open. At the same time, the moment this gap appeared, sect leader Tong Tian seized the opportunity. He risked taking another sword strike from Gahan and escaped from the gap. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Given sect leader Tong Tian's ability, if he wanted to find a place to hide, Gahan would not be able to find him even if he tore the entire earth apart. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.